Have to wonder what is left to be discovered here in all of these surrounding areas. Terrifying. Alex Stone out there in Altadena, thank you for being here with us. I also want to bring in our meteorologist, Samara Theodore, for more on this forecast. And look, Samara, the thing is we knew that this wind event was coming, right? We knew that it would be considered life-threatening and catastrophic and potentially historic. And yet we heard from leadership in LA County Fire saying we were not prepared for an event like this. So what are we seeing and what does this future hold?
Yeah, you know, Kana, I think even with knowing there's an amount of manpower and force that you have to have readily available. But the National Weather Service, as Ginger mentioned this morning on Good Morning America, they did a really good job of at least forecasting and letting people know this is life-threatening stuff we're getting ready to face by releasing that PDS, which is a particularly dangerous situation. And that's very rare for a red flag warning out west. Okay, so, you know, what we have right now is we're still in the thick of it. Even though we're on the other tail end and we're anticipating winds to start decreasing, we still have very strong gusts out there. So much so we still have an extreme fire risk from Santa Clarita to Malibu to Los Angeles. We have that critical risk into Anaheim and Riverside. So winds could still gust anywhere from 35 to 50 plus miles per hour. Humidity is still low, but the winds will continue to decrease this afternoon and evening. This is a future cast that shows us what the anticipated wind speeds will look like. By 10 p.m., 13 miles per hour in the Pacific Palisades. That's good news. By tomorrow morning, we could be hitting single digits in some spots. Next, that drought that we're in. We're extremely dry. Vegetation so dried out that it's providing so much fuel for the fire, really making the landscape of Southern California a tinderbox. So we need more moisture. Now, we don't have a lot of rain in the forecast, but we do anticipate an uptick in Pacific Palisades by Thursday evening to close to 30% relative humidity. Kana?
Oh, that will be an absolutely welcome sight, that's for sure. Samara Theodore, thank you there for being with us. Again, we are standing here in Pacific Palisades, where we are witnessing one of the most destructive wildfires to ever race through Southern California, and we will continue to cover this for you. We're tracking all the fires and the blazes and how it's impacting some of the state's most vulnerable residents. I'm Kana Whitworth here in Pacific Palisades. Stay with us.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Money. Are you ready? They are ready. Covering the biggest events in the country right now.
There's a lot going on here.
It's always a good time. That's what the show's about.
That's good.
Really good. Very good. Coming in hot. Jimmy coming in hot.
It's far from elementary.
Oh.
Good morning, America. I'm not going to try to strut like Michael or anything.
I have known George a long, long time.
Have you ever gotten him to dance?
Look at that face.
You don't just see it, you feel it.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in too. I'll be here.
I am here and so happy.
I'm in.
I'm in too.
I'm in. That tells you something when Snoop Dogg's in. Michael, George, where? Ginger.
Friday. Beloved father who went missing and evidently told his best friends not to come looking for him.
Let's just say the phrase "over my dead body" takes on a new meaning.
Just when you think you know where the story is headed, things take a turn.
2020, Friday night on ABC.
Freeze Morgan Guillory Major Crimes.
Where did you get this?
The dollar store.
Bingo. Our killer's name is Dubois.
Did you just Google who's the killer?
No, I did not do that.
Whenever, wherever news breaks, it's so important to always remember that lives are changed. Here in London, in Buffalo, Uvalde, Texas, Edinburgh, Scotland. Reporting from Rolling Fork, Mississippi. Ukrainian refugees here in Warsaw. We're heading to a small community outside of Mexico City. Getting you behind the stories as they happen. ABC News Live Prime. We'll take you there.
Stream ABC News Live weeknights wherever you stream your news. Only on ABC News Live.
For the record, your name is Xavier Collins.
Yes.
You have 2 children.
Yes.
When was the last time you saw Cal Bradford alive?
Agent Collins, well, have a seat.
I walked the president to his room at 2204.
When did you discover the body?
At 801, that's when I found him lying next to his bed.
Did you kill him?
No.
Is a part of you happy that Cal is dead?
All right, welcome back to ABC News Live. I'm Kana Whitworth here in Pacific Palisades, California. And again, these wildfires that we're talking about, they are not only directly impacting tens of thousands of people, but also hundreds and hundreds of animals as well. And this is an important issue for so many people in these surrounding areas. I want to bring in veterinarian Annie Harvalis for more on this. And so, Annie, I'm so grateful to you for taking the time here to be with us. I know that you got a call from your brother early this morning asking you to take in, his rabbit, and that's just one animal that you might think of. I'm thinking about a lot of people in this moment in my community that have horses and llamas and goats, and these animals all need places to go if you have to evacuate. So first of all, let's start with the rabbit. Tell us what happened there.
Well, Oreo is actually my niece's beloved rabbit, and she was very concerned about making sure that Oreo was safe. So it was actually yesterday in the morning that my brother contacted me and told me that he had to evacuate his house in the Pacific Palisades. They have a rabbit, a cat, and a dog. They were going into a hotel. They could only take the dog. So I took the rabbit and the cat. And I have them living in a veterinary hospital that we had recently moved out of. So it was actually vacant. And when I moved them in, I looked around at the different exam rooms that were empty, and I thought, we can help here. There's a lot of people that are probably in the same situation my brother is in. So that's when I started getting the word out that we could take in some animals.
Wow. And so tell us about how people are responding to that, because I also know, again, within my community, as everyone's evacuating, people are trying to help each other figure out where they can go with their horses, especially those large animals. I know that there's even a transport issue for some people with those large animals. And then, as you mentioned, if you have to go to a hotel, the hotel I'm at right now, there's dogs everywhere. They're clearly letting people in with their dogs, but maybe not some of those other animals. So can you tell us a little bit about who is coming out to you right now? Who's reaching out to you?
It seems like a lot of people, most people that are reaching out to me are reaching out to help, which is pretty amazing. It's a fantastic thing that we're finding, that so many people are reaching out and wanting to help. I'm saying there's probably like a 50 to 60 to 1 ratio between the people who are contacting me to help versus the people who actually need help. So it's good to see that so many people are trying to help us. And also that a lot of the hotels and different boarding facilities for people are accepting some of the pets. The people that are really needing our services in this abandoned veterinary hospital are the ones that do have multiple pets. Because like you were saying, if you have a dog or if you have a cat, it's easy to find a hotel that will take them. But for some people that have 5 or 6 pets, 8 or 9 cats, or maybe a small rescue, they really don't know what to do with their animals. And they were showing up at our veterinary hospital last night with cars just full of dogs and cats.
Well, Annie, thank you so much for all of that work you're doing, and we know it goes so far, and we're so grateful to you. Annie, thanks for being here with us. And I let our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, sneak in this shot with us, everybody. First of all, the work that you've done is incredible. I know that you are personally impacted by things that you're seeing here in this community, specifically in Pacific Palisades, but you can also allude to what she just talked about, how challenging it is to try to make a plan. I know you didn't have to evacuate yet, right? Those plans, when you have your animals, there's all kinds of challenges that sometimes you don't think about until you're in that moment.
Also because you're thinking about so many different things.
Yeah, I'm going to stand really close so you can hear on my mic.
There are all these factors you have to think about, right? Personal safety, your animal safety, the food, how you carry them, where you're going to go, how you're going to keep them. Will a hotel, if you have to stay in one, or a shelter, allow you to stay with them? So it's super complicated, and yesterday we found ourselves, like you, planning to evacuate. We didn't have to, but the kids had to get a go bag ready. And I was a little frazzled, I admit. Like, I talk about this all the time on air. I kind of always have my go bag, but when it has to be all of your earthly possessions, it's much more complicated, doubly so when it's your loved ones who can't talk and it's your pets.
Yeah, absolutely. And in terms of the things that we took, it was so ridiculous, Matt. I left with my sourdough and my kids' library books.
Those are the important things.
Yeah, and then I got worried about their Legos, you know, their Lego that I didn't bring with me. So it weighs on parents, and hopefully our little kids will keep us going. My sure are really adventurous in this moment, and it's keeping me going.
Mine were a little freaked out last night, I have to say. I'm glad that yours were adventurous. They were scared.
We all need to get them together after all of this, and it just goes to show that what we're seeing here, it is impacting this community, is impacting all of us as well. And we're here to tell the story, though, right? It's not about us, and we're taking on some of these kind of challenging environments to do our stories in, but it's worth it.
And I think it's a really important thing for the reporters themselves to experience what millions of others in LA County right now are going through, which is that terror of not knowing where the embers cast by that fire being chucked into the air hundreds of yards or miles are going to land, and it could start a fire where they live. And it's that uncertainty, which is so terrifying. You just never know. And with this wind, those fires can go from very small, you know, half-acre things to something like this, which is, what is it, 15,000 acres now?
Yeah, and the uncertainty in this fire and this general wind event is like nothing I have ever experienced, and it is terrifying. Matt Gutman, I'm so glad you walked over, and I held on to them, not letting them leave. All right, coming up here on ABC News Live, we have a lot of other headlines that we're following throughout the day. We'll have more on that after the break.
What makes Elton John so iconic?
Everyone's talking about
Elton John.
Sir Elton John.
Elton John.
Elton John.
There will never be another. Everything that you want Elton John to be, he is.
Superstar and a legend.
Now, Elton John opens up the exclusive interview with Elton John.
I'm still standing, and I am better than I ever did. And there's a lot more to come.
Elton John, still standing. Now streaming on Hulu.
2025, bring it. Bring it. Bring it. January mornings on GMA. It is time to start strong in 2025.
Let's do it, people.
How you feel, how you look, being happy, really happy. The secrets and tips you want, you need to living your best. Mornings this January on GMA.
Come on, start strong. Come on, start strong 2025. And we can't wait to help. Let's do it, people. Start strong with GMA. Start strong. Come on, start strong.
Got finished with this?
Let's get this done.
Being a cop is stressful.
Every year on the job is different. You never really stop being a rookie.
Work smarter, not harder.
We just love waking up holiday mornings with you.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America. Happy New Year from all of us here at Good Morning America.
Nightline. The stories that shape your world, that shape your life. Dramatic, stunning, empowering, jaw-dropping. The most powerful stories of our time. Nightline. On right after Kimmel and streaming on Hulu. ABC's David Muir. The most watched newscast in America.
I'm Rachel Scott reporting from a snowy Capitol Hill. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
All right, welcome back. I'm Kana Whitworth, and we are live here in Pacific Palisades, California. We're not only tracking this wildfire, but several others. In fact, I just got a message about yet another new start here in Southern California that is deeply, deeply concerning, as this wind event is far from over. But we also want to talk about the other things going on in this country. We want to check in with our ABC News' Elizabeth Schulze. She's in Washington, D.C. for us with all of those other headlines. Elizabeth, thank you for being with us today.
And Kana, thank you for all of your reporting and for bringing this deeply personal story to us in such a vivid way. Let's get to some news here in Washington. For the first time since winning the 2024 election, President-elect Donald Trump is headed back to Capitol Hill within the hour. He's set to meet with Senate Republicans on how to advance his ambitious agenda once he takes office, which is now just 12 days away. ABC's Perry Russum is tracking this for us on Capitol Hill. Perry, you know, Trump has said Republicans are working on this powerful bill to enact his agenda. What do we know about this meeting that'll take place tonight?
Yeah, so it's all about getting Republicans on the same page, but Trump himself is even open to the idea of not doing this in one bill, but breaking it up into multiple bills as long as he gets something like immigration passed first. So right now they're looking at two different options. Get it all done in one bill, which could take some time, or break it up into multiple bills and pass something first off the top and then focus on some of the more complex issues down the road, something like tax reform, things like that. That is what Senator John Thune, the new majority leader, is pushing for, but House Majority Leader Sorry, space there for a second. House Speaker Mike Johnson, he is more in favor of the idea of doing it all in one bill, and he says he is confident they'll have the ability to get it all done, get everything, all the different Republican leadership in line, get everybody agreeing in the next couple of days in terms of what they want to do. And he's kind of likening this all to a football team where you have Trump as the head coach calling the plays and then Mike Johnson being the quarterback. So at the end of the day, whatever Trump wants to get done, that's what Mike Johnson has to do, Elizabeth.
Perry Russum tracking this for us on Capitol Hill tonight. Thanks so much. Also on the Hill, Americans are paying their respects to former President Jimmy Carter. His body lying in state in the Capitol Rotunda before tomorrow's state funeral service here at the National Cathedral. ABC News White House correspondent Mary Alice Parks joins us for more on this. Mary Alice, talk about the plans for this state funeral tomorrow for former President Carter.
Yeah, Elizabeth, we expect that President Biden will deliver a eulogy, but that it will be a bipartisan affair. This was important to former President Carter. And interesting in this moment, of course, you're talking about President-elect Trump. He has been a constant critic of former President Carter, but he will be there, he says, at the service paying his respects as well. And we know that a family member from former President Ford's family will also be there and taking part in the ceremony. This was so interesting to me that Carter and Ford, obviously two men on two different sides of the aisle who ran against each other, stayed close personal friends after they left office. Carter spoke at Ford's funeral. Ford's family wants to be represented there to pay their respects to Carter as well. I imagine it'll be a celebration of his life like we've seen all week, talking about his time in the Navy, of course, his time after leaving office, the work he did around the world. A solemn affair, but no doubt a celebration too. Elizabeth.
And what a moment to watch all of those different presidential legacies together in one place. Mary Alice Parks, thanks so much. The news never stops. We have a lot more coverage of the deadly wildfires in Southern California. Stay tuned. That's right after the break.
The news never stops.
From Tampa, we are here tonight as Hurricane Milton has just made landfall.
The surge just keeps coming up.
Right on the border between Ukraine and Russia. We're in artillery position about 2 miles away from Gaza.
And ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
We're not far from where this rally took place, so just stick with us here.
Traveling with the president to the U.S.-Mexico border.
Here in London today, off the coast of Gaza.
Downtown Tel Aviv, rockets or missiles coming in.
From the most devastating disaster in Hawaii. Some areas are still smoldering.
Wherever the story.
From the front lines,
the ruins of Rafah.
From the FBI.
Reporting from Capitol Hill.
In western Portugal.
Outside of Mexico City.
In Iceland. Let's go.
Here in France.
The eclipse across America.
Just stunning.
Unbelievable.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
We're going to take you there.
You're streaming.
ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere because the news never stops.
America's #1 most-watched daytime talk show is ABC's The View.
You all heard it here first.
This is going to be must-see TV. And so much could happen. That's why it's called The what? The View.
Wherever news breaks, it's so important to always remember that lives are changed. Getting you behind the stories as they happen. ABC News Live Prime. We'll take you there.
Streaming free on ABC News Live.
Hold on, people. We're back. Are you kidding me?
No way!
And starting tonight.
For the first time ever, we ask, what would kids do?
What do these kids do when they see a bully in action? She's a freak. Stop following me.
You don't have to be so mean.
Do you think I'm a bully?
100%.
When people don't know hidden cameras are rolling, you won't believe what everyday heroes do.
So the question is, what would you do?
Tonight on ABC.
I want you to have a really fun summer out here. I only have one rule. Stay out of the basement.
What do you got in the basement?
God's behind all the crazy stuff happening.
Who knows how kids get these ideas?
Oh, that's not good. This is gonna be cool. Good luck, man.
Are you serious? Don't dab him up.
All right, everybody, I'm Kana Whitworth, and we are on the ground here live in Pacific Palisades, California on ABC News Live. Again, we are tracking one of the most dangerous fire situations in recent history here in Southern California. What we know so far is that at least 2 people are dead. Another is in critical condition as wildfires erupted all across Southern California. As you know by now, they have been fueled by those historically dry and windy conditions. Where we're at, again, this is the Palisades fire, and as I'm looking, I'm telling you, the smoke plume is rising yet again here. It has burned nearly 16,000 acres in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood, forcing tens of thousands of residents there to flee their homes to seek safety. At least 1,000 structures at this point are believed to have been destroyed in that fire alone. Then there's the Eaton fire, which is just miles away from this Pacific Palisades area. It's 30 miles east. It's in Altadena. And our latest numbers on that is that blaze has scorched more than 10,000 acres. It is moving very quickly, destroying everything in its path, as you can see in that video. We're also keeping tabs on the Hearst fire northeast of San Fernando. At this point, they think it's burning about 700 acres. In all likelihood, it's more than that. Also, the Woodley fire erupting this morning near Sepulveda Basin in the San Fernando Valley. And I also want to let you know we just got word of a 5th fire. They're calling it the Lydia fire. It's out in Acton, California. At this point, that fire's small, 50 acres. However, what we're hearing from firefighters is that it's deeply concerning, that it's moving at a high rate of speed, very fast spread, and that immediately in just those 50 acres, structures are already threatened there, and yet a 5th fire burning now here in Southern California. And so it is really hard to believe as we stand here after an entire day of smoke and flames, we're still seeing flames in this Pacific Palisades area. And if we zoom a little bit to give you an idea of where we're at, this is a restaurant here that has burned, and I don't know if you can really see, but I can actually see flames sort of peeking through in another structure heavily damaged that way. So it's hard to see from this vantage point. They are all around us, and they are not dissipating. ABC News' Jacqueline Lee is also in Pacific Palisades. She's down the hill a bit from me. She's a little bit closer to the ocean. And so, Jacqueline, it appears for us up here at least, the winds have really kicked up, and the smoke all of a sudden a lot thicker here, Jacqueline.
Oh, absolutely. And Kena, I want to show you this structure that is currently burning up on the hillside. It's very hard to see it right now because a massive smoke plume is covering it, but it is the fire is consuming that structure, just adding to the more than 1,000 structures already destroyed as a result of this fire. And this just goes to show, yes, this fire did break out yesterday, but because these winds have been gusting all over the place, it is so easy for an ember to fly and, create another fire somewhere else or reignite, a flame that may have gone out, Kana. So it is so incredibly dangerous. I also want to show you guys over here all these burnt out cars. The fire ripped through this area yesterday, all throughout the night. You can see multiple cars damaged, but what's so striking is the sun appears to be setting, and over here is the Pacific Ocean. On any other day, it would be a beautiful sight, but as you can see, it's this weird, ominous orange glow in the middle of this smoke cloud as a result of this Palisades fire that is just burning out of control. Kana.
And Jacqueline, as you're talking about what you're seeing down there, we're sort of seeing a similar situation play out up here. I'm trying to put my mask over my mouth whenever I can because the wind has just kicked up on this side as well. And so you're seeing a plume on this side. You're also seeing a plume on this side. And it's so thick that it's sort of covering up the sun at this hour. And so, Jacqueline, we know the concern here is that residents, maybe if they're not directly impacted by flames or even an evacuation order, they're still impacted by smoke like this. It's widespread.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the smoke can carry for miles. So we've seen, yesterday, even though the fire was, focused on Pacific Palisades, we were up in Santa Monica, and you could see the smoke just being carried by all of that wind. And, speaking about people that are also impacted, in surrounding areas, when you have evacuation orders and you have evacuation warnings, there's also, you have to remember, those border areas, those border neighborhoods that may be in the clear for now, but because the winds are so erratic and the fire is so out of control, any of those homes can easily go up into flames. And so when you're up talking about the hillside where it's steep terrain and California has not, or Southern California has really not received any rain whatsoever, it is so dry. That makes it so easy for fires to erupt. It's why we have so many large ones burning right now, and is why residents are so concerned. Tina.
As they should be. And again, we're not out of the woods yet on this, not even close. Jacqueline Lee down there near Will Rogers Beach, our thanks to you. Of course, we've also been very, very concerned about the fire that is burning out in Altadena, because again, this is a fire that started when the wind gusts were already at 83 miles an hour. The flames picked up, and then they clocked in a wind gust at 100 miles an hour. I mean, that is absolutely unprecedented, even for areas that know all too well what those Santa Ana winds can do. Our ABC's Alex Stone has been out there in Altadena. I know that, Alex, you were even just recently, as about half an hour ago, seeing new evacuation, at least efforts in the area.
Yeah, people who were trying to get out, mainly because there were a number of homes that were burning and people were packing up and they were getting out. Let me just show you, and I mean, you can still see so many cars that are leaving, people who are in masks and they've got their cars filled up. Some of them seem to be like looky-loos and just want to be in the area that somehow got in. The streets are closed, but got in somewhere else, and that they seem to be videoing and driving around. But there are others who are trying to get out of here. Let me show you. This is when we talk about the pieces of debris that come raining down and the embers that are on fire. This fell a short time ago right by us, and this on fire landing somewhere would have started another fire. And that is the problem, the spotting that goes on half a mile, 2 miles down the road when something like this alive lands and then starts another fire. And that has been the problem that they have had here as firefighters have been trying to get ahead of it. But how do you get ahead of it when this is jumping ahead a mile or 2 miles ahead and starting another fire? The wind is relatively calm here right now. We don't really have any wind, nothing like early this morning. Still, there are a lot of fire resources that are coming in. There is still a lot of active fire. This home behind me has been burning for the last couple hours. They keep putting water on it. It flares up again, and now there was just an explosion of some kind in the house as well, which we've been hearing, by the way. A lot of these homes, whether it be propane tanks or ammunition going off, that they've been the street buildings that are burning there. So even minus the wind, still it is spreading building to building.
Oh, that is really, really scary there, Alex. Thank you. And as you said that, we just had a computer blow right off the roof of a car here. So the wind conditions are impacting everybody in all different kinds of ways. That's for sure. Alex Stone out there in Altadena, our thanks to you. Look, these wildfires, again, that are burning across Southern California, they have forced several school districts to close as well. So this is also impacting families. And joining me right now is the superintendent of Los Angeles Unified School District, Alberto Carvalho. Thank you so much for being here with us. And listen, I know it's been a busy day for you as well, not to mention here to folks watching, LA Unified School District is one of the largest in this country, right? Over 400,000 students from kindergarten to 12th grade. So I'm sure that it did not come lightly to you to make those decisions to at least modify, change, cancel classes within the district. So tell us what's going on.
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. Let me, first of all, commend the heroic work done by first responders in our community and our own staffs, principals, teachers, support staff, who reported to many of our schools to tend to our kids. But depending on the variety of conditions that have impacted our 700 square mile school district, huge jurisdiction over a very short period of time. We're talking about a set of circumstances without precedent in the history of our school system. 4 different fires during a time of extremely high wind speeds that have taken soot, smoke, and ash throughout our community. As a result of that, specifically looking at air quality indices that exceeded that which is healthy or acceptable, we closed close to 300 schools this morning and placed 90 additional schools on a modified schedule. We're going through the data right now to make decisions about what tomorrow will be like. But the biggest enemy at this point, beyond the imminent threat of the fires and the loss of property, is the air quality in and around our schools. It is our highest priority to protect our workforce, our students, and their families.
And that is certainly so important. And unfortunately, passing along the information to you as well, that we've now learned a 5th fire has started. So now we're dealing with 5 fires. And as you say, it's day by day in the decision making on how to handle all the students within your district. And because it's such a large swath of land and people, I have to imagine that you might be dealing with some students and some families here that tragically have lost their homes. What resources does the school district have for those families?
No doubt the social and emotional support that we need to provide to our families, our students, and certainly our workforce will be activated very soon. In addition to that, we have received reports and we shall be surveying our workforce for the loss of property, loss of homes, and we will utilize community resources to facilitate appropriate housing, short-term, and at some point a full resumption of normalcy to their lives. And look, it really gets worse. We have 3 schools in the Palisades area, 2 of which are elementary schools. I visited them this morning, surrounded by fire. These schools burned to the ground. We have a high school in the same area where 30% of the school was completely burned. So we're working with state entities and federal entities for the appropriate resources to rebuild these schools. But our first priority right now is bringing the support, the social emotional support, the financial aid, and the empathy that our students, their families, and our workforce require.
Such a long recovery process, as you mentioned, with so many schools damaged, even potentially destroyed. I saw one go down this morning myself. Alberto Carvalho, thank you for taking the time to be with us today on ABC News Live.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, coming up next here on ABC News Live, my conversation with the wildfire scientists about the role that climate change is playing in fueling some of these blazes. That's straight ahead.
What does it take to be the most watched newscast in America?
An operation to capture ISIS fighters.
Is this our Combat Operations Center?
We're approaching the gate now. Militants came in from 4 or 5 different directions.
Operational nuclear reactor.
So you have a couple loaded and ready to go. The house is destroyed, but the flag, there's not a tear in it.
Not a tear in it.
How important is this label right here, Made in the USA? Look at your smile. You're proud of this.
I love this.
Great work.
Hi.
Where are you? Where are you?
Appreciate you.
Thank you, David. Good to meet you.
Ismail? David.
David.
Yes, yes. I'm David Muir.
I know who you are.
You
Watch
do?
you every night.
ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast.
2025, bring it.
Bring it.
Bring it.
January mornings on GMA.
It is time to start strong in 2025. Let's do it, people.
How you feel, how you look, being happy, really happy. The secrets and tips you want, you need to living your best. Mornings this January on GMA.
Come on, start strong.
Come on, start strong. You're going to own 2025, and we can't wait to help.
Let's do it, people.
Start strong with GMA.
Start strong.
Come on, start strong. Got finished with this?
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories. Start here.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Make it your daily first listen, wherever you get your podcasts.
Love is in the air, and GMA's looking for lovebirds who are thinking about popping the big question and getting married. Scan this QR code and tell us your love story, and you may be part of a giant proposal live on GMA this this Valentine's Day.
Friday 2020 is all new.
A beloved father who went missing and evidently told his best friends not to come looking for him.
My family and I are begging you, asking for your assistance.
This is the strangest case I've ever seen.
Now, follow the clues to solve a deadly, mysterious true crime.
Let's just say the phrase, "over my dead body," takes on a new meaning.
And just when you think you know where the story is headed, things take a turn.
The new 2020 Friday night on ABC.
All right, welcome back. As these wildfires spread across Southern California, we know that many environmentalists right now are sounding the alarm on the role that climate change is playing in fueling some of these fires. Joining me with more on this is Chad Hansen, who's a wildfire scientist and fire ecologist with the John Muir Project and author of Smokescreen: Debunking Wildfire Myths to Save Our Forests and Our Climate. Is certainly a worthy cause. So thank you for being here with us. And look, we've been talking a lot about how we knew this wind event was coming. We've also been talking a lot about how it impacts people that live in that, urban wildland interface. And we're seeing that play out in a really scary way out here. So as you watched this, what in particular made this so dangerous? Is it really just the combination of all those factors in this moment, also considering the low humidity?
Yeah, it is. It's a combination of factors that are all coming together at the same time and creating these really dangerous conditions. We have a fall and early winter where there's been very little precipitation. We have these really dry winds coming at incredible speeds with the Santa Ana winds coming off the deserts and coming down those canyons at hurricane force. And we have communities in the way, and we have these fires that are close to communities, and many communities have already been severely impacted. So yeah, it is that kind of circumstance that doesn't come along that often, fortunately, but it is happening more often because of climate change. That is a factor here.
And so when you're looking at climate change and you believe that that's a factor here, are you looking particularly at the fire starts? Or are you looking at the increasing wind gusts here? I mean, they clocked a gust at 100 miles an hour out here today.
Yeah, I mean, some of the gusts, even for Santa Ana winds, some of the gusts that we're seeing are way on the high end. I mean, this is a rare event. But what I'm talking about mostly is the increase in the area that burns. Ignitions can be a factor, but also just the area that burns. When you have the right conditions, because it's dry, because you have the winds, you're going to get larger fires typically and more communities impacted for a given ignition. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. And so, for me, it really just underscores the fact that we have to reimagine our policies and our approach to wildfires with regard to community safety. And we need to focus directly on protecting communities through proven methods that we know work, as opposed to trying to manage wildlands and manage vegetation, which does not work.
Well, so let's talk about a little bit of that management here, right? There's a huge debate that seems to be growing about how to manage our forests in terms of logging in particular, as well as the idea that, a fire moving through a forest where nobody lives is a cleansing thing. It's actually a good thing. And there's a lot of debate about how to properly manage that.
Yeah, this is a key thing. So our federal wildland fire policies really kind of came from the mid and early 20th century. And they came from this notion that fires are a forest thing. And if a forest is denser, it's going to burn more intensely. And so that's really where it's at. And if we can remove a bunch of trees from the forest, it'll stop the fires from reaching a town that might be many miles away. The problem is that the current science just doesn't support that. What it indicates is these are weather and climate events. They're driven by weather conditions, hot, dry, windy conditions, or at least warm, dry, windy conditions. And in fact, oftentimes removing trees from forests actually reduces the windbreak effect that a denser forest has and allows the winds to sweep through the forest even faster and spread the flames faster, which means the fire reaches the town even faster. But the other factor is that most of the communities that are at greatest risk from wildfires, like most of those in Southern California, they're really not forest communities. They're not in the forest or even very close to a forest. They're in grassland or chaparral or oak savanna. And that's where the greatest risk is. And so really we're trying to kind of fit a square peg into a round hole, taking these mid-20th century policies and trying to fit them into a 21st century world where we have the climate crisis and communities in harm's way.
Right, and especially when more and more people are moving into that wildland interface, and it's becoming more and more dangerous. Chad Hansen, thank you for being here with us today. We appreciate your time. And coming up next here on ABC News Live, we have some other headlines that we're following today, and we have more news for you right after this quick break. I'm Kana Whitworth in Pacific Palisades, and you're watching ABC News Live.
The news never stops. We are here in Israel, a nation at war.
We heard what appeared to be gunfire. The former president rushed off the stage.
Hurricane Helene ravaging the coastline of Florida.
It's moving really fast, screaming across the state.
And that's why ABC News Live never stops.
Taking you to the center of the story. As news breaks live.
We hear the small arms fire around us. We're right on the border between Ukraine and Russia.
ABC News Live is there for you at the start of your day, all morning live. ABC News Live, right there, as events unfold across the day.
ABC News Live, breaking down the day's top stories.
Lyle and Eric Menendez, there is new evidence in this case.
ABC News Live Prime going there, wherever the story is.
Are you going to build it back up?
And ABC News Live, lighting up the weekend.
With breaking news and all the latest pop headlines.
Happy Oscar Sunday.
A lot to watch for tonight.
ABC News Live.
Because the news never stops.
You know something serious about to happen. I have an idea.
You guys have eyes on your targets.
Shouldn't we strategize?
Come on, we're gonna improvise. Freestyle.
No.
Whenever, wherever news breaks, it's so important to always remember that lives are changed. Here in London, in Buffalo, Uvalde, Texas, Edinburgh, Scotland. Reporting from Rolling Fork, Mississippi. Ukrainian refugees here in Warsaw. We're heading to a small community outside of Mexico City. Getting you behind the stories as they happen. ABC News Live Prime. We'll take you there.
Stream ABC News Live weeknights wherever you stream your news. Only on ABC News Live.
Hey, good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Every day of your life.
Tonight, the 39th President of the United States lies in state at the Capitol, celebrating Jimmy Carter, his grand life and legacy. Plus, tracking the extreme weather coast to coast. World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast.
America's #1 news, ABC News, now streaming 24/7 on Disney+.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm Kana Whitworth, again live here in Pacific Palisades, California, where we are tracking the wildfires that are raging across Southern California. We have just now learned that there is now a 5th fire that is raging, so this is deeply concerning. It is moving very quickly and immediately threatening structures. But there is other news happening across this country. We want to check in with ABC News' Elizabeth Schulze, who's live for us in Washington, D.C., with all of those other crucial headlines that you're following today. Elizabeth?
Thanks so much, Kana. We are tracking some news at this hour overseas. A massive opposition rally planned in Venezuela tomorrow to protest the contested re-election of President Nicolas Maduro. His opponent, Edmundo Gonzalez, claims that he won the July presidential election against Maduro, and many in the international community agree. They're viewing the election as fraudulent. Gonzalez has since visited several countries in the Western Hemisphere to try to shore up support, meeting with the outgoing President Joe Biden at the White House just on Monday. While out of the country, Gonzalez said that his son-in-law was kidnapped, and the Venezuelan parliament yesterday voted in favor of arresting Gonzalez if he re-enters the country or tries to prevent Maduro's inauguration, which is scheduled for this Friday. The news never stops. We do have a lot more coverage of the deadly wildfires in Southern California. That will be right after the break. Stay tuned.
What makes Elton John so iconic?
everyone's talking about.
Elton John.
Sir Elton John.
Elton John.
Elton John.
There will never be another. Everything that you want Elton John to be is.
Superstar and a legend.
Now, Elton John opens up the exclusive interview with Elton John.
I'm still standing, and I am better than I ever did. And there's a lot more to come.
Elton John, still standing. Now streaming on Hulu.
I only have one rule. Stay out of the basement.
What do you got in the basement?
I can't talk about it quite yet.
There's something down there that will destroy the world.
We're talking about a monster, a real monster.
You are in danger. Kids are disappearing.
ABC's David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. More Americans watch World News Tonight with David Muir than any other newscast. Friday nights at 9 on ABC. Mean true crime.
True murder mystery.
Shocking.
Sex, betrayal, lies. A bombshell. The greatest true crime stories.
2020. Friday nights at 9.
2025, bring it.
Bring it.
Bring it.
January mornings on GMA.
It is time to start strong in 2025.
Let's do it, people.
How you feel, how you look. Being happy, really happy. The secrets and tips you want, you need to living your best. Mornings this January on GMA.
Come on, start strong.
Come on, start strong.
You're going to own 2025.
And we can't wait to help.
Let's do it, people.
Start strong with GMA.
Start.
You know something serious about to happen. I have an idea.
You guys have eyes on your targets.
Shouldn't we strategize?
Come on, we're gonna improvise. Freestyle.
No.
I'm Whit Johnson, reporting from Maui. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
For the record, your name is Xavier Collins.
Yes.
You have 2 children.
Yes.
When was the last time you saw Cal Bradford alive? Agent Collins, have a seat.
I walked the president to his room at 2204.
When did you discover the body?
At 8:01, that's when I found him lying next to his bed.
Did you kill him?
No.
Is a part of you happy that Cal is dead?
All right, everybody, I'm Kana Whitworth. I'm on the ground here in Pacific Palisades, California, and we are just seeing the wind kick up and move dark, black smoke all over this community at this hour. This is a very scary scene. You can also sort of see some flames there in the background. As they pull out, you can again see what is left of this restaurant here, a popular restaurant in the Pacific Palisades area. This is an area where I used to live, not that far. My boys were babies when we were here, and so I have memories of them being babies. And in fact, they used to do a farmer's market as these fire trucks are rolling through. They used to do a farmer's market right over there, and I have these memories of them in a stroller in that farmer's market. And this is something that so many people are struggling with in this moment. In fact, as we came on the air, I just got a text from a friend who said every single person she knows in Pacific Palisades lost their home. So that just goes to show you how much this is impacting even people that don't live here. The other thing that we're learning at this hour is there's yet another fire that has started. That means we are dealing with at least 5 serious fires, and they are now deadly as well, and that death toll is rising. It is also rising to 5. 5 people are dead. 1 person is in critical condition as wildfires erupted all across Southern California. Again, they have been fueled by these really historic winds. They knew that it would be life-threatening, and it certainly was. We're also seeing historically dry conditions in the area as well. So you can see that box. Let's start with the Palisades fire burning in Pacific Palisades. That has burned nearly 16,000 acres at this point, and that's in this neighborhood where I'm standing. It forced tens of thousands of residents to flee their homes, to seek peak safety. At least 1,000 structures at this point are believed to have been destroyed in that fire. And you have to think about not only the homes that were lost here, but the businesses as well. And then if we go to Altadena, that's the Eaton fire. So that's 30 miles east of here. And that blaze at this point scorching more than 10,000 acres. But that's the one that we're hearing from firefighters that they are deeply concerned about massive growth on that one. So we'll have to keep an eye on that acreage. But LA County fire officials are confirming that it's that fire, the Eaton fire, is where those 5 civilians died. We also are watching the Hearst fire that's northeast of San Fernando. It's said to be burning at least 700 acres. And the Woodley fire erupting this morning near the Sepulveda Basin in the San Fernando Valley. Again, as I mentioned, we learned of a new start here, a 5th fire. It's called the Lydia fire. That one erupted in the Acton area not that long ago. But right as it started, we were told by firefighters that it was threatening structures almost immediately, even at just 50 acres. So that's deeply concerning. We also are now learning that it's more than 1.5 million people are without power in California, as officials are desperately urging residents to follow those evacuation orders, keep themselves out of harm's way as these explosive fires are spreading with no signs of stopping. So it is a deeply, deeply concerning situation growing here in Southern California. I want to bring in ABC News' Jacqueline Lee. She's also in the Pacific Palisades area. And this is a part of land, right, that is sort of a big hill, and it winds down famous Sunset Boulevard, and it winds all the way down to the beach, exactly where Jacqueline is. And so, Jacqueline, what are the conditions like where you're at?
Okay, now, as you guys can see, the wind is really picking up. We're actually seeing a lot more debris flying around, just to show how, scary things can change. But I do want to show you, we've been talking a lot about, if you look down Pacific Coast Highway, specifically up by the hillside, this is actually the most visibility we've seen all day. We've been reporting out here since 7 in the morning Pacific time. And to be honest, it's not even that visible, but it's more visible than it's been all day long. You can see there are structures still standing up there. I can't tell quite if the condition of those structures, but they are still there. And I will say, just a few hours ago, we saw multiple other structures that were just engulfed in flames. And I can show you, while, one structure can be burnt to the ground, another one could be fully intact. We saw that with the mountain fire in Camarillo. And the explanation for that is it's the embers that travel and where they want to land, and then ultimately where those fires grow, which is why you can see a home standing and another one completely destroyed. Over here, down here, we have some burnt out cars, and it's just, as the winds pick up, we're just seeing all of this smoke swirling around, and it's making it this hazy orange glow. Right over here, this is the Pacific Ocean. Where we are, Kana, for those who are not familiar with this area, this is a tourist destination. This is typically one of the most beautiful places in the country. And right now, as you can see, it's this strange sci-fi apocalyptic situation that no one has really seen before, especially in this area. So we're seeing a lot of residents, riding around on bikes, walking around, seeing it, taking it in. Many people wearing masks, but to be honest with you, we've been surprised. Some people have not. It is so difficult to breathe out here, Kana, and there's just layers of soot on everything. Kana.
Yeah, you're not kidding. I'm trying to put my mask on in between commercial breaks here because it is really hard to breathe. And as you were talking about how popular that beach is where you're at, I was reminded, Jacqueline, that stretch of beach is really famous for shooting movies and commercials and things like that. So often, right, you're driving by and you're seeing entire movie sets set up on that area. But look, the truth of the matter in all of this is if you're not impacted directly by flames, even if you're not evacuated, you could be impacted in so many other ways. Like you mentioned, the smoke, but also we have several school closures in the area as well. What are the additional impacts that we're hearing from residents about?
Of course, I mean, the biggest thing is no one knows where the fire is going to spread. This wind has been blowing 360 degrees. I mean, it has been coming from every single direction, and that is what is so scary, especially when your home is close to these flames or close to evacuation zones. Officials have been warning that the wind gusts were going to be up to 100 miles an hour over the last 24 hours. And last night, I'd say there were so many residents that were just terrified as to where that wind would blow. I mean, we saw it in Altadena with all those embers that were flying around and all of those reporters who were showing just all of the homes that were being consumed by the flames. And unfortunately, especially with the Palisades fire and with all the other fires burning in the Los Angeles area, they're not under control. There's simply not enough resources to tackle it right now. We're seeing a concerted effort among other states to try to get as many extra personnel and equipment here as quickly as possible. But at the end of the day, the wind is out of control, the fires are out of control, and it's scaring quite a lot of residents, Kana.
Absolutely is. Jacqueline Lee down there at Will Rogers State Beach, thank you so much for being here with us. I also want to bring in our meteorologist, Samara Theodore, who's been tracking this forecast for us. And so, Samara, it's really interesting as we're starting to see almost a bit of a clear spell, but we are seeing the winds still pick up here. And I know that we've been watching the wind gusts, and we're concerned about how those are going to look here in the coming days, but also you've been really focused on the humidity as well.
That's right, Kana. So these are major components and really lean to why we're seeing what we're seeing, that humidity, the winds. You know, we're still in the thick of it. We are on the other end of that bell curve. We should start to see the winds decreasing through tonight, but it's a process, and we haven't completed the process yet. So winds are still gusty. Therefore, we still have an extreme fire risk for the areas in pink, which include Malibu. We still have a critical fire risk from Riverside to Anaheim. I want you to keep in mind, there may not be a fire in your neighborhood right now, but if you live anywhere in these highlighted zones, the environment is primed and conducive for fire growth and spreading. So if that spark goes off, you have to be ready at any moment. This is like a tinderbox. Wind gusts could reach higher than 60+ miles per hour. Still currently humidity levels between 5 and 15%. That's really critical. The good news is we do anticipate winds to decrease tonight into tomorrow. Wednesday, we push forward in time. Here we are at 10 p.m. tonight. Pacific Palisades, 13 miles per hour. We start to see these wind gusts reach the single digits. Wind speeds reach the single digits, hopefully by tomorrow morning. And there will be an uptick in relative humidity, more moisture added to the atmosphere as we head towards the end of the week. But still, you know, you're in a deficit. You're in a drought. We need more relief than even this. Kana.
More relief. There's no question about that. All right, Samara Theodore, our thanks to you for being here with us today. We also want to check back in with Alex Stone. He is in Altadena. He has been covering that fire here throughout the afternoon. Oh, and Alex, whoa, there's some huge flames there behind you. What is that?
Yeah, this is a home that is burning right now, and there is one engine 116 from LA County Fire, that they are doing what they can to try to calm it down, but they're all alone. Typically, you wouldn't have a house fire with only one engine, and they don't really have a lot of water. It looks like that one of the firefighters may be getting up to try to pull a hose or to use their cannon at the top to shoot it on. They've got their chainsaws out now as they're trying to get some of the brush away from it so it doesn't spread to the building next door. But this just shows you, Kana, that even though the winds have calmed down, these buildings continue to burn. There are a lot of embers. There's a lot of smoldering material that if it was flying around earlier today, it's still going up as they're getting help coming in here right now. But this is yet another home that is burning right now, Kana.
That is so scary. And as you mentioned, you're right. It takes more than one engine typically to put out a house fire. But when resources are so thin right now, we know they're calling in reinforcements, but they are not here yet. It was just a big gust of wind here, about knocked me over. So this is still ongoing and concerning, as you're pointing out there. Alex Stone, our thanks to you. All right, again, we are live here in Pacific Palisades, California. We are on the scene of the Palisades fire, where you can see behind me here, some bystanders are coming up really just to check things out. I mean, some people live here, some people have businesses here. This is a very popular area in Southern California, and some people are just kind of trying to come out and see what it looks like in this moment. And clearly they're happening upon tragedy, sadly. We will continue to cover this. We have more rolling coverage of these raging wildfires here in Southern California. Stay with us.
Freeze Morgan Guillory Major Crimes.
Where did you get this?
Check out at the dollar store.
You hired me because I noticed things that you miss.
Let's solve this case.
Bingo.
Our killer's name
is Dubois.
Did you just Google who's the killer on your phone, Morgan?
No, I did not do that.
Why do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, Start Here.
Who is this guy?
He was kind of creepy. Pure evil.
We were shocked.
This is every woman's nightmare.
This is not just any killer.
There was 11 skulls.
Drawn using a finger in blood.
All of these victims' souls belong to him.
They're mine. I'm more sane than most Americans.
This guy is an evil genius. He's the best serial killer that ever existed.
He compared himself to Ted Bundy.
Wild crime, 11 skulls.
So iconic.
Everyone's talking about
Elton John.
Sir Elton John.
Elton John.
Elton John.
There will never be another. Everything that you want Elton John to be is.
Superstar and a legend.
Now, Elton John opens up the exclusive interview with Elton John.
I'm still standing, and I am better than I ever did. And there's a lot more to come.
Elton John, still standing. Now streaming on Hulu.
All right, welcome back. We have been monitoring an urgent evacuation order again underway here in Southern California as fire crews attempt to battle these raging blazes that at this point show no signs of slowing down, and neither does the wind. And you can tell from where we're standing just how windy it is. Joining me right now is Lindsay Lance, the spokesperson for the Los Angeles Fire Department. Lindsay, a pleasure to have you here with us. Thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, Kana, thanks for having us. Thanks for being out here and giving us all this coverage.
Of course. Listen, this is impacting a lot of us on a personal level as well. If we can talk about some of these fires, as we know, still 0% contained right now. Emergency services at this point it sounds like they're being inundated with calls. How is the fire department, in a sense, just handling the sheer magnitude of the fires and these winds? It's like nothing I've ever seen before.
Yeah, at some level, we have to realize and be realistic about our situation, right? We have a limited amount of personnel. We have a limited amount of resources, ambulances, both here and back in the city. And in some instances, we've had to tell our citizens that, there's going to be a line, or that personnel may not get there as quickly as we normally would. Our call volume has increased. In addition to the fires, almost threefold. So we are overrun right now. We have a lot of agencies helping us, coming in from all over California and from the Western U.S., coordinated by CAL FIRE. We're extremely grateful for all of that help. But we are fighting against these winds right now that you're feeling, and still trying to prioritize life safety before we really have any hope of getting a handle on these flames right now.
Yeah, I think it's so often wildfires in Southern California are sort of synonymous with those big water drops or the air tankers with Phos-Chek, and we're just not able to see as much of that right now, in large part, of course, because of these winds. So how do you prioritize this firefight when you almost don't have access to your biggest asset?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So there's two problems there, right? Winds over 45 miles an hour pretty much ground all of our aircraft. The canyons that we're dealing with and the topography that we see out here in the Palisades and Malibu increase those winds. As they go through those canyons and chimneys, those winds get even faster. So it's even harder to get that aircraft out there. And in addition, any water that is dropped in winds like this is just dissipated. It doesn't do any good before by the time it reaches the ground. It's just turned into mist so quickly. So right now we are still focusing on evacuations. We're focusing on keeping people safe, preserving life, and then secondarily, structures and property. Malibu this afternoon has taken an extremely hard hit. This fire is still moving both east and west, and we don't have a handle on it yet.
And sorry, it was a little hard for me to hear. Which fire was that you just mentioned?
That's the Palisades fire, but it has moved. Yeah, Malibu has been hit as of this afternoon. It's taken a very, very devastating hit.
Wow, okay. And we know that those evacuation warnings were growing, and we're hearing from some of our own community members there. I know that there's a lot of different operational assets happening. I also know that there's different people that are responsible for each fire, but I do want to broadly ask you, if I can, about some of these injuries and even the deaths that we're seeing. It sounds like UCLA Hospital says they've treated some 21 people suffering from some kind of fire-related injury and has at least admitted one person in critical condition. We're also hearing that it sounds like, sadly, the death toll there on the Eaton fire, which I know the Forest Service is heading up, but it sounds like that death toll is up to 5. Are you able to bring us any updates there?
Sadly, at this point, we don't have confirmation of all of that hearsay. I can tell you that several people ended up on the PCH last night with burn injuries that had escaped the flames but needed medical attention. So those people were dealt with and treated and transported quickly. We have had some firefighter injuries as well. In terms of an official toll or an increase over that official number of 2 fatalities this morning, I'm sorry, I just don't have those numbers for you yet.
Yeah, no problem. I know that, again, there's a lot of people and a lot of cooks in the kitchen, if you will, here. But again, this thing is far from over. And Lindsay, I so appreciate you taking the time to speak with us today.
Absolutely. We appreciate your coverage so much, and we will do our best to keep you updated as we're trying to do the work here as well.
Thank you. Greatly appreciated. All right, coming up next here on ABC News Live, we have some other headlines, of course, that we're following throughout the day. We have more news right after the break.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Good morning, America.
Money. Are you ready? They are ready. Covering the biggest events in the country right now.
There's a lot going on here.
It's always a good time. That's what the show's about.
That's good.
Really good. Very good.
Coming in hot. Jimmy, coming in hot.
It's far from elementary. Good morning, America. I'm not going to try to strut like Michael or anything.
I have known George a long, long time.
Have you ever gotten him to dance?
Look at that face.
You don't just see it, you feel it.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in too.
I'll be here.
I am here and so happy.
I'm in.
I'm in too.
I'm in. That tells you something when Snoop Dogg's in. Michael, George, where? Ginger.
Friday.
Beloved father who went missing and evidently told his best friends not to come looking for him.
Let's just say the phrase "over my dead body" takes on a new meaning.
Just when you think you know where the story is headed, things take a turn.
2020, Friday night on ABC. America's #1 news, ABC News. Now streaming 24/7 on Disney+.
Freeze Morgan Guillory Major Crimes.
Where did you get this?
Check out at the dollar store. You hired me because I noticed things that you miss.
Let's solve this case.
Bingo. Our killer's name is Dubois.
Did you just Google who's the killer on your phone, Morgan?
No, I did not do that.
I'm Mireya Villarreal in Houston, Texas. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming with ABC News Live.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm Kena Whitworth. I'm live here in Pacific Palisades, California, where, again, we have been tracking the wildfires that have been raging across Southern California. Utterly historic devastation that we have seen, and it is still happening. There is still plumes of smoke, even in this community. There are roofs on fire. There are downed trees. And actually, I can see flames over in this area as well. So that is just around the corner. My cameraman I think he's saying he can see it. Can we pan over there just real quick? I just want to give you an idea of where we're at. They might be small compared to what we're seeing, but this is an entire day later when Pacific Palisades has been utterly gutted and there are still flames at this hour. But this is not the only thing that is happening in this country. While a lot of the focus, of course, is here now, it's not the only thing. So I do want to take a moment to bring in our ABC News, Elizabeth Schulze. She's live for us in Washington, D.C., and she's covering all of the other headlines that we're watching today. Elizabeth, good to see you as always, my friend.
Kena, always good to see you, and thank you for your tireless work bringing this story to us all throughout the day. You have made something so personal for so many people and really showed it to a way that we are so grateful for. Please, please, please stay safe, my friend. We are covering some news on Capitol Hill tonight. For the first time since the 2024 election, President-elect Donald Trump is back on Capitol Hill. As we speak, he is meeting with Senate Republicans on how to advance his ambitious agenda once he takes office. That is now just 12 days away. ABC's Perry Russum has been tracking this for us from the Hill. Perry, Trump has said Republicans are working on this one powerful bill to enact his agenda. What do we expect will come out of this meeting happening right now?
Yeah, so the plan for this meeting is he is going to meet with Senate Republican leadership first and then Senate Republicans as a whole. But he did just talk to reporters before the meeting saying we are looking at the one bill versus two bills, and whatever it is, it doesn't matter. We are going to get the results. So the two options right now, one bill, get Trump's agenda in one bill and then pass it. House Speaker Mike Johnson is in favor of that. Or break all of this up into multiple bills. That's what Senator John Thune, the majority leader, is in favor of. And Thune's thinking with all of this is, let's get Trump a win off the bat. Let's pass something once he takes office in just a few days from now, 12 days from now, on January 20th. Then we can focus on some of the tougher issues to try and figure out in bills, something like tax reform, some of those issues. But Trump has said he is even open to the idea of doing some of these different bills and starting with immigration first and then expanding to some of these different things. House Speaker Mike Johnson today saying he is pretty confident they'll have the ability to get in line, get all the Republicans in line before Trump does take the oath in just a few days from now, Elizabeth.
Something he will watch. We will be watching very closely, as you have been, Perry Russum. Thanks so much. Just before that meeting a bit ago, President-elect Trump and former First Lady Melania Trump visited the U.S. Capitol Rotunda to pay their respects to former President Jimmy Carter, who is now lying in state there. ABC News White House correspondent Mary Alice Parks joins us for more on this. Mary Alice, what do we know about Trump's visit there to the Rotunda? And talk a little bit about what we expect tomorrow during this national day of mourning for Jimmy Carter's state funeral.
Yeah, we know that President-elect Trump is planning to be there at the state funeral as well. President Biden expected to give one of the eulogies. It will be a bipartisan affair. We know that former President Ford's son will also be speaking and a part of the ceremony. This was important to Carter, that it be a bipartisan sort of celebration of his life. But looking at these pictures again, Elizabeth, it is so interesting. Of course, Trump just yesterday was asked about how often he, frankly, blasts Carter for his decisions, his policy. Of course, we've heard him blast Carter about his decision around the Panama Canal, his move to try to support renewable energy in this country. The political cross-currents in this moment are so interesting. Trump, in so many ways, fighting against what Carter did while he was in office. But Trump, when he was asked about it, still said at the end of the day he respected Carter as a man, that he was a good man, that he enjoyed the time that he talked to him and met him. And he is there, as you saw, sort of paying his respects just moments ago, and expected to attend the service tomorrow.
As always, the news never stops. We do have a lot more coverage of those deadly wildfires raging in Southern California. Stay tuned. That's right after the break.
Why do do so many people start their day here?
From ABC News, this is Start Here.
To be in the know and get a different take on the day's top stories.
A lot of news today, so let's get into it.
Listen now to the Daily News Podcast honored with 4 Edward R. Murrow Awards and see why the New York Times calls it a news podcast worth listening to. Start Here, ABC News. Make it your daily first listen.
Now, that's a part of the story I bet you didn't see coming.
Wherever you get your podcasts, start here.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families.
On the ground in Ukraine.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
I only have one rule. Stay out of the basement.
What do you got in the basement?
I can't talk about it quite yet.
There's something down there that will destroy the world.
We're talking about a monster, a real monster.
You are in danger. Kids are disappearing.
Is suffocating.
We are all here to help them. We're going to make this happen.
We have 96 hours to build a house.
Come on, guys, it's moving day. Let's go. It can't be real.
This was more than just extreme home makeover. This was extreme life makeover.
Extreme Makeover Home Edition, Thursday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
I'm Aaron Katursky at the Trump Building on Wall Street. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Who is this guy?
He was kind of creepy. Pure evil.
We were shocked.
This is every woman's nightmare.
This is not just any killer.
There was 11 skulls.
Drawn using a finger in blood.
All of these victims' souls belong to him.
They're mine.
I'm more sane than most Americans.
This guy is an evil genius. He's the best serial killer that ever existed.
He compared himself to Ted Bundy.
Wild Crime, 11 Skulls, only on Hulu.
Hold on, people. We're back. Are you kidding me?
No way!
And starting tonight.
For the first time ever, we ask, what would kids do?
What do these kids do when they see a bully in action?
She's a freak. Stop bothering me.
You don't have to be so mean.
Do you think I'm a bully?
100%.
When people don't know hidden cameras are rolling, you won't believe what everyday heroes do.
So the question is, what would you do?
Tonight on ABC.
I'm Elizabeth Schulze in Washington, and right now on ABC News Live, we are tracking unparalleled wildfires ravaging the densely populated Los Angeles area. Here is what we know right now. At least 5 people are dead, 1 person in critical condition as wildfires erupted across Southern California, fueled by historically dry and windy conditions. There's the Palisades fire that has burned more than 16,000 acres in the Pacific Palisades neighborhood, forcing tens of thousands of residents there to flee their homes and seek safety. At least 1,000 structures are believed to have been destroyed in that fire so far. Then there's the Eaton fire, just about 30 miles east of the Palisades fire in Altadena. That blaze scorching more than 10,000 acres. LA County officials confirming that is where 5 civilians died. We're also keeping tabs on the Hearst fire northeast of San Fernando. That's said to be burning at least 700 acres. And the Woodley fire erupting this morning near Sepulveda Basin in the San Fernando Valley. We have also just learned of a 5th fire called the Lydia fire that erupted not too long ago. Then there's this. More than 1.1 million customers are without power in California right now. Officials desperately urging residents to follow evacuation orders and keep themselves out of harm's way as those explosive fires spread with no signs of stopping. Our Jacqueline Lee has been tracking this fire from Pacific Palisades, where this started. Jacqueline, give us the picture of where you are right now. What are the conditions like?
Hey, Elizabeth, so the biggest issue obviously is the winds. Those wind gusts, when they come through, you can really feel it, and it creates very dangerous conditions. I mean, take a look at this vegetation. You can see it is smoldering, and I would almost argue it's very close to reigniting. You can see some of those flames starting to pop up at the very base. You can see it is very close to reigniting again, which just shows you how scary this is, not only for residents who are trying to get to their homes to see if there's anything left standing, but also it highlights the challenges for firefighters as they continue to try to battle this fire. You know, it's so difficult with these wind conditions to gain any sort of upper hand, and especially when you have so many large fires burning all at once throughout the area. It's no surprise that these fires are not contained whatsoever. So, I mean, this is just a perfect example of what is going on all over Los Angeles, Elizabeth, and just how dangerous things can turn.
You've been talking a lot, Jacqueline, as we've been watching your coverage throughout the day about the wind. Has that subsided at all, or is it really still blowing at these incredible speeds that has led to this really, really rapid spreading of the fires?
I would say just from where I'm standing right now, in the last 30 minutes, it has subsided. I mean, I'd say earlier today is really when it felt like hurricane like wind gusts, when we were actively bracing ourselves because the wind gusts would go through. It is a little bit calmer right now, so that's a good thing, and we are hoping it'll stay that way through the night. And many homeowners who are very nervous about either evacuations or the fires burning close to their homes, but they're not yet in an evacuation zone. That, of course, is always a concern. You know, we do have these Santa Ana wind concerns, you know, through tomorrow, but hopefully the worst is over, but that can't even really be said because of just how unpredictable all of this is, Elizabeth.
Yeah, no question. We can hope. Jacqueline Lee, thanks so much for all your reporting throughout the day. Let's bring in meteorologist Samara Theodore for the forecast on this. So, Samara, talk a little bit about what we're looking at with those winds that Jacqueline was just talking about.
All right, Elizabeth, so we are still in the threat. The forecast has been that the winds would decrease tonight, this evening through tonight into tomorrow morning, and we're on track for that, but we're still in the thick of it. We're not out of the woods yet. So we still have an extreme fire risk from Malibu to Santa Clarita, Los Angeles, Riverside, Anaheim, also in a fire risk, wind gusting 35 to 60 plus miles per hour. As Jacqueline mentioned, we had very strong winds overnight. We saw wind gusts as high as 100 miles per hour near the Eaton fire. So what I want to say right now is that it doesn't matter if a fire is not burning in your neighborhood. Even still, keep in mind that this area, Southern California, is really a tinderbox right now. So we are still remaining on high alert, even as these winds continue their descent. So winds will continue to decrease as we head through the afternoon and evening hours. As I fast forward, it shows us what winds could be by about 10 p.m. tonight, 13 miles per hour in Pacific Palisades. We could still see gust higher than that, of course, and then we could see winds down to the single digits tomorrow morning. So that's good news. But as I keep stressing, we still have winds gusting relatively high at the moment. The other factor has been just how dry it's been. Since May of last year, we've only seen 0.16 inches of rain in downtown Los Angeles. Between October 1st and today, we should have picked up around 4.5 inches of rain. So that's really a significant loss that we're at. We're seeing a major drought for a lot of Southern California, and that coupled with the dynamics at play, this area of high pressure to the north, this area of low pressure to the south, like two gears turning, creating this very strong pressure gradient, and that is leading to the Santa Ana winds being so robust, so energized. And finally, the relative humidity. It has dropped to critical levels. We should start to see an uptick as we head into Thursday evening and Friday. Elizabeth?
The drought combined with the wind, just terrifying to see that. Samara Theodore, thanks so much. We'll check in with you soon. Our ABC station in Southern California has been out with their reporters, their backs to these flames, to bring everyone the latest on the raging fires. I want to bring in KBC reporter Josh Haskell, who's been in the Pacific Palisades amid the Eden fire burning there, more than 15,000 acres, still 0% contained. Hey, Josh.
This mobile home park and another one right next door between Temescal Canyon and Sunset Boulevard along Pacific Coast Highway used to be extremely ideal property. Now you can see there is absolutely nothing left. Utter devastation everywhere. And I know someone that lived in this particular mobile home park. I know someone who had property here. And not only is there not a single home left here, but there is just very little to salvage. I mean, it is just ash and destruction. and it is heartbreaking. And I want to just pan up to the mountains really quick, because there were homes that lined those bluffs overlooking the Pacific Ocean on all of those lots, and every single one of them is gone. It may be a little difficult to see. You can see some chimneys in a couple different places. This is near where Ashley Mackey has been reporting, David and Ellen, and what used to be some of the most idyllic real estate in all of California and all of the United States. Not only is it completely gone, but it is just a disaster zone on every level. Again, as I reported earlier, driving through the Palisades village is just absolutely heartbreaking. I'm thinking about all the people that live there, over 25,000 people, people who grew up there, like myself. You just never thought that you would see your town that destroyed. And I'm not over-exaggerating. It really feels like, from driving through the town, that 50 to 75% is gone or badly damaged. And I wish that wasn't true, and there might be a home on a block, but you might be the only home left on the block. And I don't know what that life would be like. And it's just indescribable. And the images have been coming out all day, thanks to Air 7 and other reporters. But really seeing it on the ground, especially having, I was there on Sunday. I had lunch there on Sunday at a restaurant with my parents. Like, none of it makes sense.
It just doesn't. And thank you for sharing your story and those powerful images. Josh Haskell from KBC, thanks so much. ABC News' Alex Stone is tracking the other fire that we are closely watching, the Eaton fire in Altadena. Alex, this fire has caused at least 5 deaths that we know of. First reports came around 6 p.m. in the evening yesterday. What does it look like there, and what does the spread of this fire look like, Alex?
Elizabeth, that's right. The numbers have now gone up to 5 dead on this fire, and there are numerous others who have injuries. That they've got burn injuries, other types of injuries. We don't know the extent of those yet. You can see this house behind me that firefighters are now getting some water on it. It was burning. They got it down and started burning again. They've been battling it all day long, as this being one of many homes that have been burning here several times today. And about 2 minutes ago, there was an LA County water dropping helicopter that went over, but it's been very sporadic. Right now, the resources are so stretched thin that getting use of the helicopters, and we haven't seen any planes that have been able to get up in the air, that they haven't been able to use them very much. But when they are able to, hopefully either later on tonight or maybe tomorrow, that will make a huge difference in all of this. But for now, Elizabeth, the fire continues to spread neighborhood to neighborhood. Homes are burning. The winds have died down quite a bit since earlier today, but still the flames are moving.
Those powerful winds, such an impediment to the water drop that is so critical to try to get this under control. Alex, tell us what you're seeing and what you're hearing from first responders and from people who are there where you are, worried about their homes, their communities.
Yeah, they're exhausted, whether it be first responders or people who live in this area. And you can see there are more resources coming in right now as LA County Fire comes in, and they head up to areas that are burning right up there. I talked to one man whose home right down here burned to the ground, and he was telling me earlier today that he got home from work last night and didn't know about this fire, and got home and his house was on fire and it was burning. So, there are people who live in these neighborhoods that they are in disbelief right now. They thought that the fire out in Pacific Palisades, 30 miles away, that was it. And then everything erupted overnight in just incredible 100-mile-per-hour winds. And I just cannot reiterate enough, Elizabeth, the strength of those winds early this morning. It was impossible to stand in them. I mean, it was you were in a hurricane in that moment, but a hurricane with hot embers, glowing embers all around, smoke. It was impossible to see 5 feet in front of your car driving along. You didn't know where the fire was. You didn't know where the end of the road was if a car was in front of you. It was incredibly tough, and people could not get out. And that's why we now know that 5 people have died and others were injured trying to get out. They just were not able to get out.
Just incredible, and so much tragedy ahead. Alex Stone, appreciate all of your tireless reporting on this, bringing us that picture all throughout the day. Alex Stone, thanks so much. Coming up, we're going to hear from those impacted most by these raging fires, people who have been forced to evacuate and flee their homes. Stick with us.
What makes Elton John so iconic?
Everyone's talking about
Elton John.
Sir Elton John.
Elton John.
Elton John.
There will never be another. Everything that you want Elton John to be, he is.
Superstar and a legend.
now Elton John opens up the exclusive interview with Elton John.
I'm still standing, and I am better than I ever did. And there's a lot more to come.
Elton John, still standing. Now streaming on Hulu.
2025, bring it. Bring it. Bring it. January mornings on GMA. It is time to start strong in 2025. Let's do it, people.
How you feel, how you look, being happy, really happy. The secrets and tips you want, you need to living your best. Mornings this January on GMA.
Come on, start strong. Come on, start strong. You're going to own 2025, and we can't wait to help. Let's do it, people. Start strong with GMA. Start strong. Come on, start strong. Did I finish with this?
Let's get this done.
Being a cop is stressful.
Every year on the job is different. You never really stop being a rookie.
Work smarter, not harder.
I want you to have a really fun summer out here. I only have one rule. Stay out of the basement.
What do you got in the basement?
God's behind all the crazy stuff happening.
Who knows how kids get these ideas?
Oh, that's not good. This is gonna be cool. Good luck, man.
Are you serious? Don't dab him up. We just love waking up holiday mornings with you.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America. Good morning, America.
Good morning, America. Good morning, America. Happy New Year from all of us here at Good Morning America.
Nightline. The stories that shape your world, that shape your life. Dramatic, stunning, empowering, jaw-dropping. The most powerful stories of our time. Nightline. On right after Kimmel and streaming on Hulu. David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight. The most watched newscast in America. And honored with the Emmy Award. Winner for Outstanding Live News Program. More Americans watch World News Tonight with David Muir than any other newscast.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. I'm Elizabeth Schulze. We are tracking the multiple massive fires raging out of control in Southern California. Tens of thousands of Californians are still under evacuation orders. Countless homes now destroyed. One of the residents who evacuated her Hollywood home with her boyfriend joins me now, Simone Kathleen Rossi. Simone, thanks so much for joining us tonight. You evacuated yesterday evening when that Palisades fire was just about 10 miles away from where you were. Talk to me about that decision. Where did you go, and did you think your home was in danger?
Yes, thanks, Elizabeth. We are, like you said, about 10 miles away from the Palisades fire, and the decision kind of came after, at the same time the Palisades fire started, there was a smaller fire briefly on the Sunset Strip near my boyfriend's office, and we are about a half mile from that. And then once we saw all those cars being bulldozed in the Palisades, after people were frantically trying to get out and then they had to abandon their cars, that pretty much sealed the deal for me. I'd been aware that these winds were coming and that there was a very extreme risk for fire for the past several days, looking out for the meteorologist reports, and I didn't want to risk getting stuck there. There is still so much that we don't know is going to happen in the next 24 hours, the next 48 hours. So we packed up all of our things, grabbed the cats, and we headed out once my boyfriend got off the clock. It took us about 2.5, 3 hours to get to Indio, where we have evacuated to. The winds are still bad out here, but it's just outside that elevated risk zone, and we're going to stay here for the foreseeable future.
Did you run into any issues actually getting out, Simone? We saw those horrible images of cars neglected on the side of iconic Sunset Boulevard, people getting out of their cars, and then those cars later bulldozed so that the fire emergency vehicles could actually get through.
Yeah, so we went down towards the 10, and we saw actually one of the fires starting off the side of the road. We were going eastbound on the 10, and we saw the fire basically starting. It had started right after we had left. This is the one in Altadena. We could see it on the freeway. I tried to take some videos, and it looked as if it was growing. This is a fire that started after we had already evacuated. So at this point, it was about 8 p.m., and we were trying to outrun these spot fires to get as far away from the elevated risk zone as possible. We also saw going westbound on the 10, there was a crushed Prius. There was a tree that had fallen over the cement barrier from the other side of the freeway, from the city side. It looked like it just toppled over that barrier onto that unsuspecting Prius. The cops were already there, and they had closed down the westbound freeway going that direction. I hope that driver is okay, but like I said, we were driving, and there was just so much to take in. It was very dark, hard to see. My boyfriend said it was one of the top 10 most terrifying drives he's ever had to do. We were trying to make it by that 10 p.m. point, which is when all the reporters were saying the winds were going to pick up to upwards of 100 miles per hour, which it did. So we did get there in time, but it was horrific. It's hard to breathe. Within 15 minutes of turning off my air purifier when we evacuated, I've had a sore throat. And then I've had it ever since. I'm still trying to get rid of that by drinking as much water as possible. It's still windy and dry out in Indio. There was a fire, a very small one this morning out in the Coachella Valley, but that's been put out. But it's nonstop. It's just horrific. I can't even think of another word other than horrific.
The air quality, an issue affecting so many, even those farther out from the fire. Simone Kathleen Rossi, thanks so much. Glad to hear that you are safe. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.
I also want to bring in a resident who evacuated from her Pacific Palisades home, Emily Smith. Emily, tell us about your story and your decision to evacuate. Do you know the status of your home at this hour?
So I'm on a group text with a bunch of, we call them the moms in the neighborhood, and everybody has been just panicking all day. I mean, it's one alert after another that there are houses on fire in my neighborhood, one street over from where I live. We live in a gated community, and it's just ablaze. Pretty much everybody evacuated. I think last I heard there was one or two people that didn't, but they were urged to leave. So I'm not sure what happened. But as of now, my house, as far as I know, is standing. But as the reporter said earlier, if you're the only house on the street that survived, there's not much of a life left there.
I understand, Emily, you were also a news reporter for 20 years. You've covered a lot of these natural disasters yourself. How does this, what you're seeing and what you saw in your own community, compare to anything, if at all, to that experience you've had in the past?
Yeah, I have chills just talking about it. I covered Superstorm Sandy, and I was out on Staten Island, which was the worst of the storm. I had cinder blocks holding me down, a couple cameramen. Our truck started on fire. We were screaming. They were screaming, this is worse than 9/11. You can't compare stories, but it was absolutely terrifying, Superstorm Sandy. So this is on that level, if not worse, because it's fire coming at you, and everywhere. Where can you run? You evacuate to Santa Monica, then they evacuate Santa Monica. You go to Brentwood, they evacuate Brentwood. It's like you just keep running from fire. It's terrifying.
And have you heard from others in your community? How are you getting those updates with so much destruction, power lines down, so much devastation, to even understand what that rebuilding process might even start to look like?
Yeah, there's little bits and pieces of information from heat maps. There's different technology that meteorologists have access to, and so I guess firefighters. So maybe these gals have access to those things, but everybody that I know evacuated. I think I was the first person to evacuate. I left at 10:30 in the morning when I received a call from a friend who was a quarter of a mile from me, and she said everyone was panicking at Equinox. And there was ember falling from the sky, and that's all I needed to hear. And here's my dog. I jumped in my car and I just took off, as far as I could. I just wanted to get away from it. But I think most of the people who are texting are safe. They evacuated and they're outside of LA at this point. But we don't know exactly what's going on with our homes. We're in shock. I woke up in complete shock today. You're not even really thinking clearly yet about your house. It's still more just like, I cannot believe this is happening to Southern California.
so many in shock, just like you, across the country, looking at what is happening. Emily Smith, thank you so much for joining us. Glad to see that you and your dog there are safe, too.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Coming up, we're going to check on some of the other headlines today. Former President Jimmy Carter lying in state in our nation's capital. A bit more on his final farewell coming up next.
The news never stops.
From Tampa, we are here tonight as Hurricane Milton has just made landfall.
The surge just keeps coming up.
Right on the border between Ukraine and Russia.
We're in artillery position about 2 miles away from Gaza.
And ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
We're not far from where this rally took place, so just stick with us here.
Traveling with the president to the U.S.-Mexico border.
Here in London today.
Off the coast of Gaza.
Downtown Tel Aviv, rockets or missiles coming in.
From the most devastating disaster in Hawaii. Some areas are still smoldering.
Wherever the story.
From the front lines, in the ruins of Rafah.
From the FBI.
Reporting from Capitol Hill. In western Portugal.
Outside of Mexico City.
In Iceland. Let's go.
Here in France.
The eclipse across America.
Just stunning.
Unbelievable.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
We're going to take you there.
You're streaming.
ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere because the news never stops.
America's #1 most watched daytime talk show is ABC's The View.
You all heard it here first.
This is going to be must-see TV, and so much could happen. That's why it's called The what? The View.
Wherever news breaks, it's so important to always remember that lives are changed. Getting you behind the stories as they happen. ABC News Live Prime. We'll take you there.
Streaming free on ABC News Live.
For the record, your name is Xavier Collins.
Yes.
You have 2 children.
Yes.
When was the last time you saw Cal Bradford alive?
Agent Collins, have a seat.
I walked the president to his room at 2204.
When did you discover the body?
At 8:01, that's when I found him lying next to his bed.
Did you kill him?
No.
Is a part of you happy that Cal is dead?
I want you to have a really fun summer out here. I only have one rule. Stay out of the basement.
What do you got in the basement?
God's behind all the crazy stuff happening.
Who knows how kids get these ideas?
Oh, that's not good. This is gonna be cool. Good luck, man.
Are you serious? Don't dab him up.
Welcome back to ABC News Live. I'm Elizabeth Schulze in Washington. While President-elect Trump is on Capitol Hill tonight for the first time since the 2024 election, he's meeting with Senate Republicans. His lawyers are asking the Supreme Court to halt Trump's scheduled sentencing for Friday in his criminal hush money case in New York. ABC News senior reporter Catherine Falder is in West Palm Beach, Florida, with more on this.
Attorney General Merrick Garland said today that he intends to release at least a portion of Special Counsel Jack Smith's final report into both of his dual investigations into Donald Trump. Of course, one of those investigations was the investigation into January 6th and Trump's actions surrounding January 6th, and the other was an investigation into his alleged mishandling of classified information. Now, the Justice Department has said that they won't release that volume of the report that has to do with the classified documents and Trump's handling of it because that case is still pending in the courts as it relates to Trump's co-defendants in the case. But the Attorney General did say that he intends to release the January 6th portion of that report. But what needs to happen then and before that happens is that the judge here down in Florida, Judge Cannon, who essentially blocked the release of that report while this litigation plays out, she has to essentially rescind her order. So we're waiting on the higher court, the 11th Circuit, which Trump's lawyers have appealed up to make a decision to send it back to Cannon. And then Cannon then has to decide whether or not to rescind her order. All of this is part of Trump's multiple legal maneuvers that he is planning just days before going into the White House. We're just 12 days away from the inauguration. He's asked the Supreme Court to pause his sentencing in the criminal hush money case in New York. We're waiting to hear from the Supreme Court on that. We're waiting to hear from the judge in Florida about whether the Department of Justice can release these final reports. All of these are delay tactics to get these items pushed before he takes office. So whether or not Trump is sentenced, whether or not we see this final report, we just don't know. It could never come out because Trump will be in charge of the Department of Justice just here in under 2 weeks. It would then be the Attorney General's decision whether or not to release the report, and we know that Trump would likely direct his AG not to do that.
Catherine Falder is keeping a close eye on that. Thank you. Also on Capitol Hill tonight, lawmakers and the public are saying final goodbyes to former President Jimmy Carter. His body is lying in state in the rotunda ahead of tomorrow's state funeral service at the National Cathedral. Thank you so much for streaming with us. I'm Elizabeth Schulze. Coming up next, tune into ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis for much more coverage of the wildfires in Los Angeles and other news headlines. The news never stops. Stick with us on ABC News Live.
Hold on, people. We're back.
Are you kidding me?
No way. And starting tonight.
For the first time ever, we ask, what would kids do?
What do these kids do when they see a bully in action?
She's a freak. Stop bothering me. You don't have to be so mean. Do you think I'm a bully? 100%.
When people don't know hidden cameras are rolling, you won't believe what everyday heroes do.
So the question is, what would you do?
Tonight on ABC.
What makes Elton John so iconic?
Everyone's talking about
Elton John.
Sir Elton John.
Elton John.
Elton John.
There will never be another. Everything that you want Elton John to be is.
Superstar and a legend.
Now, Elton John opens up the exclusive interview with Elton John.
I'm still standing, and I am better than I ever did. And there's a lot more to come.
Elton John, still standing. Now streaming on Hulu.
I only have one rule. Stay out of the basement.
What do you got in the basement?
I can't talk about it quite yet.
There's something down there that will destroy the world.
We're talking about a monster, a real monster.
You are in danger. Kids are disappearing.
ABC's David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. More Americans watch World News Tonight with David Muir than any other newscast. Friday nights at 9 on ABC. Mean true crime.
True murder mystery.
Shocking.
Sex, betrayal, lies.
A bombshell.
The greatest true crime stories.
2020. Friday nights at 9.
Reporting from the protests at Columbia University, I'm Stephanie Ramos. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
You're watching America's #1 streaming news, ABC News Live. Breaking news, exclusives, live reporting across the globe. Keep streaming with ABC News Live.
Tonight, flames, smoke, and devastation. Entire blocks once full of homes and businesses now reduced to rubble. Deadly, raging wildfires in Southern California, fueled by hurricane-force winds, leaving a trail of destruction.
All right, dude. Yeah, let's get out of here.
Tens of thousands of families desperately trying to gather their most precious belongings, and seconds later, racing to escape tunnels of fire before flames engulf their homes. We're on the ground here in Los Angeles with those heartbreaking scenes.
Firefighters admit they cannot battle all the flames. Many across the region have now lost virtually everything, but are thankful for what's left as this unprecedented emergency continues to unfold.
All the stuff that's here is replaceable. People are not, so very lucky. So having the family is the most important thing.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We begin with the apocalyptic scenes playing out across Southern California. Just imagine racing room to room, grabbing every irreplaceable item you can, and then escaping your home before walls of flames engulf it. Over the last 24 hours, we've watched these haunting scenes across the Los Angeles area as firefighters battle 5 fires still raging out of control. At least 25,000 acres have been scorched, thousands of structures destroyed. The deadly fire is nowhere near contained as some homeowners take matters into their own hands.
This house is everything to us. This is all we really have. And we're doing our best to protect as much as we can. Everything around you get on fire and you're just trying your best to water everything out. We're just watering our roofs.
In the Pacific Palisades neighborhood, an area known for its beautiful views of the ocean and surrounding hills, home after home now burned to the ground. And tonight, the only silver lining, the hurricane-force winds fueling these unprecedented fires are finally easing up, but for many, the damage has already been done. Countless families are facing the realization that everything they own is now reduced to smoldering debris. LA County's top firefighter admitted today the county was not ready for this kind of widespread disaster, as President Biden promises now to do anything and everything to tame the flames. We have a lot to get to tonight with our teams on the ground, but we want to begin with our ABC News Live anchor, Kana Whitworth, who's in Pacific Palisades, a community she knows very well. And Kana, I know you've lived in the LA area for years. In fact, you've been forced to evacuate your home twice in the last few weeks. It's hard to imagine the kind of heartbreak that so many people whose lives have just been entirely upended. Have you ever experienced anything like this yourself?
You know, the short answer to that, Lindsay, is absolutely not, right? I've covered fires in this area for at least a decade, and I have never seen the winds act so erratically. In fact, when we had to evacuate our home the first time just a couple of weeks ago, actually, it was really comforting for me, the knowledge I had from covering wildfires for so many years. I felt like I could look at the ridge and I could look at the winds and look at the maps and try to anticipate what would happen next. That is not the case on this fire. It is so unpredictable that, in fact, as I have been standing here, we have watched this hillside here in Pacific Palisades light up again. The wind took a major shift, and there are homes that are standing here. This hillside has homes destroyed. This hillside has homes that are still standing, and now this fire has popped up again, and it is encroaching on them. So it is this level of unknown and the fact that you can't predict what's happening next that is so unbelievably unsettling, and there are so many people impacted. In fact, I got a text from a friend today who said every single person she knows that lives in Pacific Palisades lost their home. So that is just a devastating and widespread impact, Lindsay, absolutely. And here's the thing. There's so much, Lindsay, that we don't know at this hour, right? We keep getting these updates on the acreage, but we know that they're going to keep.
And I know that you're experiencing it firsthand. Our hearts are breaking as we're watching it, but we thank you for your coverage, and I know that we're going to continue to come back to you. Actually, we're going to stay with you right now, Kana.
Yeah, absolutely, Lindsay. And we're out here, of course, in these pretty challenging conditions, Lindsay. And as I've said in the past here, this is worth it because this is a disaster like we have not seen throughout Southern California. In fact, our World News Tonight anchor, David Muir, came here to Southern California to see this firsthand for himself. And one of the things that I think was really apparent here was how quick this fire can move when you can't get air attack on it right away.
Tonight, the deadly apocalyptic scene, wildfires tearing through Los Angeles. They now fear thousands of homes destroyed here, at least 5 people dead. Authorities saying there are many, quote, significant injuries. This evening across Los Angeles, there are now 5 major wildfires: the Palisades Fire, the Eaton Fire, the Hearst Fire, the Lydia Fire, and the Woodley Fire. Homes and cars burning tonight. Fierce winds sending fire embers down the street. The flames reaching the ocean.
All this is going to be gone.
We travel with CAL FIRE Battalion Chief Brent Pesquois, who says he has never seen anything like this. We're on the Pacific Coast Highway. We turn into one of the neighborhoods in Pacific Palisades. This small school burning.
You can hear the bangs going off.
Yeah, the fire's ripping through that school right there. You can see the cars here charred.
And then we see it, home after home, burning.
Well, it's just jumping from home to home right now. With this wind, there's nothing to stop it.
As we drive up into the hills, the charred cars, where families simply stopped, got out, and escaped.
These people who were coming down from the hills here decided to give up because the fire was encroaching?
Right. The traffic was so bad, they figured their chances were better getting out on foot and running the rest of the way out of here.
I mean, it's an apocalyptic scene here.
It is. You see where the bulldozer had to come through and push the cars aside so we can get up here.
The bulldozers moving the cars so that fire trucks could get through.
So we're now 24 hours into this disaster, and we've got another multiple homes in a row here in flames.
Yeah, the wind is just pushing this fire from home to home to home, and you'll see it. It's even running down canyon to the homes that are below these homes. So there's just no stopping it when the winds are this strong. Everything's going to burn.
We walk through the darkened neighborhoods here, smoke hovering over the homes, many still crackling from the flames. Overnight, Joshua Oppheim and his dog trying to escape the fires surrounding them on Sunset Boulevard.
Embers coming off.
Captain Eric Scott with the LA Fire Department sharing this image from downtown Los Angeles. Thick smoke from the wildfires taking over the view of the sky. The air quality tonight.
Fires being fueled by a combination of strong Santa Ana winds and surrounding topography, which makes it extremely challenging for us firefighters.
Authorities are calling this an extremely rare, life-threatening Santa Ana wind event. Gusts reaching 100 miles per hour. More than 35,000 residents under evacuation orders. Nearly 1 million now without power. Residents here tell us they have lost everything.
It's just pretty devastating. This is pretty devastating. I don't think LA's seen anything like this before.
Tonight, the California National Guard has been called in to help fire departments across LA County who are overwhelmed. From the air tonight, a fuller scope of the devastation. A United Airlines passenger capturing this view out his window. That flight diverted. Thousands of firefighters spanning out, racing to contain the flames. The new fires jumping from home to home.
Bro, I don't.
And residents here doing whatever they can. This young man, Orly Israel, trying to use a fire hose to beat back the flames in his own backyard.
Bro, we gotta go.
You can hear the intense fire crackling.
Oh. All right.
Fire alarm going off.
Yeah, let's get out of here. We tried.
His friend there, Tanner Schaff, wearing a mask, trying to help him, trying to save the home.
We tried our best.
They both escaped through the front door, running to safety. The homes, the trees, all around them on fire.
Hey, there's nothing we can do now, bro.
And then they pray.
God, protect this house in the name of Jesus. Protect this neighborhood, God. In Jesus' name, I pray, amen.
Palisades, ICLA V1.
The biggest fire, the Palisades fire, entire streets engulfed. American flags waving as the building behind them is nearly gone. One firefighter with a hose trained at the front door, though every home there on fire. Firefighting aircraft dropping water on burning homes. The fire unrelenting, the fierce wind sending embers traveling miles away. Fire and smoke pouring out of this home's window. Some 40 miles away, the Eaton fire in Pasadena. Tonight, these new aerial images revealing what the wildfires have done there.
But these are sad sights, and we've seen so much of this, you know, into last year, and then now again in 2025. This is heartbreaking. I feel for these people.
The Pasadena Preschool Academy on fire. The residents at this senior living facility, the terraces at Park Marino, rushed out of their bedrooms, wearing masks to protect them from the air. They were rescued. A heroic effort by the LA Fire Department and emergency response teams across the region tonight. They are saving lives amidst the horror.
The scope of the loss here, though, is unimaginable.
It's devastating. It's devastating, and I feel for those people. I've spoke to some of them. I hear it in their voices. It tears at my heartstrings too. But like I said, at the end of the day, they were alive. They knew they would rebuild and come back better. And I just gave them a hug and I said, you know, please reach out with anything you need.
Well, there's no question you've saved lives here.
That was our goal. Yeah. That's our #1 priority.
Thank you.
Again, showing in the magnitude of this fire that our World News Tonight anchor David Muir hopped right on a plane to come out here to Southern California, and he is joining us now. David, what a pleasure to have you here with us. And look, I know you've covered, so many natural disasters all across this globe, but also you've covered several wildfires right here in Southern California. And during that tour today, what stood out to you the most as far as being so different from anything else you've ever seen here?
Well, Kana, you know Palisades Village very well. You know this whole area. And I was saying earlier on World News Tonight that this particular area, it would have been bustling at this hour. People shopping, dining, gathering here. You can see behind me the flames actually right over my shoulder here continue to burn some 24 hours later. And Kana, everywhere you go, and you know this, you see the thick black smoke rising in the air. Whenever you see that, that's a new fire that is now cropped up from these Santa Ana winds that continue gusting at some points 90, 100 miles per hour in these last 24 hours. What really stands out to me, though, and you mentioned that we've covered a number of these fires. We travel out for them, and there's always really no shortage of heartache. There's always loss to report on when we come out here. But the scope of these fires is staggering. It's actually hard to put words to it. We were going down the Pacific Coast Highway, right into Pacific Palisades. We went up into the neighborhoods, and it was interesting. The moment we took the turn to go into the neighborhood, we saw the fire immediately. There was a small little school on fire, an apartment building on fire. We went up the hill a little further, home after home on fire. And the only reason that those structures were now burning was because everything at the crest of the hill had already burned in the last 24 hours, that the flames were really just making their way down the hills, making their way really to the water, as you know. There were particular dangers going into this catastrophe here. Very dry conditions, drier than even normal, and you guys know dry, anyone who lives here in California, combined with the Santa Ana winds, and these were going to be particularly strong. But Kana, I don't remember a time when we were standing here as 5 major fires were burning all at once, all 0% contained, and with the scope of the loss. As you drive through these neighborhoods and these communities, you see buildings, streets of homes, entire streets of homes gone. There is going to be, many, many years of rebuilding here.
You're absolutely right about that. I'm already hearing people talk that perhaps we don't even know the level of destruction just yet. David Muir, again, such a pleasure to have you here with us, our World News Tonight anchor. Thank you for being with us. All right, as we keep talking about the thousands of people that at this point have been left to take really desperate measures to try to either save their homes, save their neighbors' homes, or even escape the flames themselves. ABC's chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, went to Malibu where this fire started to move, and he has more for us there.
Tonight, abandoned cars, hillsides burning. The Palisades fire also scorching LA's most upscale beachside town of Malibu. Fleeing families trying to thread a tunnel of fire with both sides of the Pacific Coast Highway engulfed.
All of PCH is on fire right now. It is like driving through hell itself down here. Literally through hell. This is madness down here. These homes are on fire, and you can feel the heat from the flames, even from inside your car.
Hopefully they're going to save our house. Hopefully they're going to save our house.
Frank DeMarco tried to save his Malibu home himself, but with flames feet away, he had no choice but to get in his car and get out.
Look at this. Look at this. Everything is on fire. Everything's on fire. I don't know what to do here.
With firefighters spread so thin, the howling winds spreading flames like seeds across Southern California.
There is nothing left of these neighborhoods. House after house on both sides of the street, completely gone. Many of them still on fire, not a firefighter in sight, and you can see all these embers being cast. And all that's left in many of these neighborhoods are just chimneys, burning homes.
And by daybreak, the flames even stronger.
The ferocity of what we are seeing, this house that has become a blowtorch, very quickly igniting the other house. You can hear all that popping. Gives you a sense of why so many neighborhoods here have been completely obliterated.
Zibby and Kyle Owen seeing their Pacific Palisades home burn from their Nest camera. Speaking with ABC's Diane Macedo in New York.
It's absolutely surreal.
I mean, watching that footage is devastating to us. It's something that we've always been aware of, living there, that could happen. But I think we're seeing this is the worst case scenario playing out in front of our eyes right now. And we're devastated for our community. It's not just a place, it's a beautiful community.
What do you know at this point about your home and your business?
This is really what you're seeing right now is the last contact that I would say we had with our home. And then we lost power. So I lost the ability to have the cameras anymore.
So you don't know?
We don't know.
If your home is still
we don't know,
not.
but the fire started about a mile from our home. So many of our friends have lost their homes already, for sure. It's just devastating. All of our neighbors have evacuated. They're in hotels or friends' houses further away and are just sort of in the same boat as we are. And no one knows what's going on.
Yeah, I think the not knowing is the hardest. There's no access. You can't see what's happening. It's just unthinkable that this whole place could vanish.
And back on the ground in L.A., former beach volleyball champion Randy Stolkos has lived here all his life.
This is paradise. This is one of the finest places in the world to live. And unfortunately, it's gotten turned upside down.
And L.A. County's fire chief admitting with major fires burning around Los Angeles, they just can't fight them all.
We're doing the very best we can, but no, we don't have enough fire personnel in L.A. County between all of the departments to handle this.
Lindsay, so many houses here in Malibu have been destroyed, and normally where I'm standing, you wouldn't actually be able to see the ocean. You would see this line of very impressive-looking seaside homes. The fire didn't just destroy the homes, it also took out power lines that are downed. That's why the Pacific Coast Highway is closed to regular traffic, people who are not first responders. And there's something else that local residents here, homeowners and police are concerned about right now with the loss of these multi-million-dollar homes, and that's looting. Lindsay.
All right, I'll take it from here. Matt Gutman, our thanks to you, and that deeply is a concern for so many people. Our thanks to you. I also want to bring in now Pacific Palisades resident Justin Kohoff, who's joining us now. Sadly, Justin is one of many who lost his home, and Justin, your business as well. If you can see me, I'm standing right here in Pacific Palisades, right in front of Casa Nostra, one of my favorite restaurants in particular. Can you tell me a little bit about your home, your business, where they were, and how you found out?
Yes, so thank you for having me on. I was actually flying in from out of town, and I was flying over the fire, devastated like all other Angelinos, and very scared, didn't know what was happening, and just wanted to make sure my loved ones were okay. I've grown up in the Palisades since I was a kid, and we have the Shell station on Via de la Paz and Sunset, and you know, the whole night we couldn't sleep, and I got word that it had burned down, and, you know, like many of my other friends' homes that have been, you know, torched down to rubble, it was very devastating to hear. And, you know, all I could think about was making sure everyone I love is okay. And my high school actually burnt down as well. It was very sad to hear that as well. And, you know, just thinking how sad it is that we don't have enough firefighters or the resources or water in the fire hydrants. It was all very sad to hear because in California, we've had this disaster many, many times, and you would think that we would be prepared after having so many fires.
That word you used, prepared, you know, we actually heard from fire officials who said we knew this was going to be a catastrophic, life-threatening wind event, and we were not prepared. I had to move the camera a little bit, Justin, to try to see just around that corner, because just around that corner is where that Shell station station is, and that's the business that you like, right? So it's just around that corner. They're kind of on the hill. What
Correct.
High school was it that you went to here?
Palisades Charter High School, right down the street.
See it.
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
Justin, I do want to let you know, we drove past it today. It is not all gone. Parts of it are, but it is not all gone.
God.
So I do want to pass along that to you, if that's just a little bit of good news. But it also strikes me, you're someone that grew up here in the Palisades. So when people think of the Palisades and they think of the village, right? That wasn't always here. So you watched this place really take shape, and now to see it, again, it's being described as apocalyptic.
100%. And you know, where the Erewhon is across the street from you, where the new village is, my family owned the mobile station there before we sold it to Rick Caruso. So I've really watched it transform into the beautiful community that it is. And it's always to me been like a safe haven and a mecca of, you know, one of the greatest, safest places to live. And it's very, very sad to see the disaster that has come upon it. But I'm excited to see, and I know that we'll come together as a community to rebuild it back better than ever.
That's such a positive outlook, and I do want you to know that I have friends that are contractors, and they are already hearing from people that are saying, we want to rebuild immediately. This is our home, and we love it here. And so, Justin, we are sending you certainly our thoughts and prayers, and I'm a person that loves this community as well. And so I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you. Thank you. I just want to thank all of the first responders, all of the firefighters who put their lives at risk to protect and save our communities. And, you know, my heart goes out to them and everyone that's lost their homes. And I'm hoping that in the future we'll be more prepared for something like this, you know, clean up our brush, fill the reservoir, have more personnel, not cut the fire department budgets, and really do better, do better, because we know countless time again what can happen with a little bit of a spark and wind in our beloved Los Angeles, California, you know? So
yeah,
I hope this is a lesson that we all learn from, you know?
I think you're smart to point that out. Justin, thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being here with us. And I want to highlight here something that Justin just mentioned, the budget cuts. ABC News is now learning that Los Angeles cut $17.5 million from the fire department's budget just 7 months ago. Now, this, of course, here in L.A., I want to talk about the Eaton fire as well. That is a fire that's about 30 miles inland from where I'm standing, 30 miles east. And it raced down the mountains into densely packed neighborhoods, destroying homes and businesses. I saw an elementary school go up in flames as well, also a nursing home. The death toll in that fire alone is at least 5 at this point. We're also told there are multiple significant injuries. So here's what we know at this hour about the unrelenting impacts of these fires. Tonight, that deadly Eaton fire raging out of control in Altadena, California. East of the Palisades fire, the blaze racing down the mountains into densely packed communities, killing at least 5. Many more injured, including a firefighter. The inferno taking out everything in its path: homes, businesses, schools.
This is an elementary school. The building is starting to now completely fall apart. It's being pushed by these heavy winds, and as it moves, it is turning, as you can see, day into night, pitch black down that way.
With barely any time to escape and the fire closing in, that assisted living facility evacuated. Seniors with oxygen tanks and wheelchairs, some in hospital beds, embers flying around them.
Oh, this is fallen. Oh, man, the whole wall just fell down over there.
I was there just hours later. The facility gutted.
As this wind picks up again, you're getting a really good idea of these embers and how they're flying through the air. We are utterly surrounded by fire.
Tonight, that fire exploding to more than 10,000 acres. The winds erratic, nearing 100 miles an hour. Tens of thousands of homes threatened. Neighbors desperately fighting to save their property. Some stationed on rooftops. Armo Lalengi just minutes ago in that devastated community.
This is really neighbors helping neighbors. You see some here with garden hoses doing what they can as firefighters have been stretched incredibly thin in these neighborhoods.
In another neighborhood, the Symington family losing everything.
All the stuff that's here is replaceable. People are not. So having the family is the most important thing.
Well, and that man's sentiment there is so incredibly important because we are hearing from authorities that they're concerned about the high number of injuries on these fires because people are not evacuating as soon as they need to. And Lindsay, that's something that's so important, right? Because leaving when you're supposed to isn't just good for residents. It's also good for the first responders as well, Lindsay.
I have to say, it is just heartwarming to hear those embers of hope that people still just have that little spark about rebuilding, about feeling some sense of peace, just that their family is still alive and intact. But for many of us on the East Coast, we're curious, when you do get evacuated, and I know I'd like to ask you personally, because I know you've been evacuated twice.
Yeah.
Where do you go? Because if your relatives are also in those evacuation zones, I'd imagine that hotels are filled up at this point.
Lindsay, you're so right about that. And first of all, I think you were kind of touching on how you prioritize what's important to you, right? So when you're evacuating, what do you really need? You really need your family. That's all that you really need. I will share with you one thing that I saw happen last night in my community as people were leaving was they actually tried to race to hotels. The hotels started filling up really quickly. And then, Lindsay, those hotels lost power and they had to leave again. And so now people are scattered up and down the coast. And you're especially right. If you have family members that are also in evacuation zones when the fires are widespread like this, it is really, really challenging. They certainly do have evacuation shelters open, not just for people, but for their pets as well, including large animals, horses, llamas, goats. We have a lot of people in this community with those kinds of animals. But it is a challenging situation regardless of where you go, Lindsay.
All right. Well, Kana, we so appreciate your coverage. Thank you so much. Let's get to ABC News Chief Meteorologist Ginger Zee now. And Ginger, some have called this a perfect storm of conditions. Walk through how this became so catastrophic. I know that you said part of it has to do with just how dry the conditions are.
Yes, without the dry conditions, you don't get as many fire starts going as fast, but you really need the wind. And that was the part that made this so horrific and still is a problem. So, Lindsay, that came from having that high pressure system, that Four Corners high, that makes Santa Ana wind events often. But then you had the really strong pressure gradient between that and the low. This squeezes the air offshore over the mountains, and then it kind of collapses to the ground. What made this event different was that upper level low. So there's a low up there that is kind of super fueling these winds to come offshore, and it actually then became this mountain wind wave event, it's called. So it basically drops the winds to the ground and makes little eddies and makes these fires nearly unfightable. So things have gotten a little better, but we still have a dangerous night ahead with those wind speeds anywhere from, say, 20 to 30 miles per hour. They'll start to go down into the single digits tomorrow morning before pumping back up Thursday night into Friday morning. Got another high that builds in and a little something up there in the atmosphere that's going to kick up the winds to what we don't need. We wish they would stay down in the single digits, but it does not look like that. Critical fire danger from Santa Clarita, Los Angeles, Riverside, all the way down to the Mexican border, especially into the mountains, but to the coast too. We've seen the impacts from that, Lindsay.
And Ginger, hate to bring this up, obviously, with so much attention justifiably on the Southern California region, but I know that you're tracking the system that helped create this wildfire emergency because it's about to become a major winter storm. What's that forecast?
Yes, and there are a lot of people going to be impacted by this. So that low pressure system we talked about, that's going to eject over the plains and make it Dallas, Little Rock, Memphis, all in a winter storm warning. Talking about Thursday into Friday. So Interstate 40, Interstate 20, those are the areas you're going to need to watch. We time it out here. See how it moves over Texarkana with kind of that mix of freezing rain, sleet, and then snow is on the northern side of it. Dallas is going to be ugly going into the drive Thursday afternoon. And Memphis picking up the heavier snow. South of Nashville, heavy snow, Huntsville, Alabama, northern Mississippi, and yeah, you see snow over Atlanta there. It's been a while. Atlanta doesn't get a ton of snow, and they don't necessarily have a lot of the equipment to deal with it, so we'll watch that. Raleigh, look at this is Saturday, 12 a.m. It moves into the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast as we go into the weekend as well. Lindsay.
All right, Ginger Zee for us. Thanks so much, Ginger. And we will continue our coverage of the catastrophic Southern California fires in a moment. We're joined by Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz on the need for American unity in the wake of this wildfire disaster. But up next, ABC News exclusive, the rare move President-elect Trump made with Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito less than 24 hours after his attorney asked the court to block his Friday sentencing in the criminal hush money case.
For the record, your name is Xavier Collins.
Yes.
You have 2 children.
Yes.
When was the last time you saw Cal Bradford alive?
Agent Collins, have a seat. I walked the president to his room at 2204.
When did you discover the body?
At 801, that's when I found him lying next to his bed.
Did you kill him?
No.
Is a part of you happy that Cal is dead?
This family is suffocated. We are all here to help them. We're gonna make this happen. We have 96 hours to build a house.
Come on, guys, it's moving day. Let's go. It can't be real.
This was more than just extreme home makeover. This was extreme life makeover.
Extreme Makeover Home Edition, Thursday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Welcome back. ABC News has exclusively learned that Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito has spoken directly to President-elect Donald Trump and recommended one of his former law clerks for a job in Trump's new administration. Less than 24 hours after they spoke, Trump's attorneys asked the court to block Trump's sentencing in the criminal hush money case set for Friday. ABC's chief Washington correspondent Jonathan Karl joins us now. John, what more are you learning about this conversation between Justice Alito and the president-elect?
Lindsay, we learned that this call was for the purpose of Alito recommending a former law clerk of his for a job in the administration. We had reported this out, well-sourced, and we asked, before actually putting the story out, we asked for a statement from the Supreme Court, from the justice himself. They rarely comment on stories, but we did get a response from Justice Alito, and he confirmed the conversation. What he said is that a former law clerk, this was a clerk for him back in 2011, more than a decade ago, had asked if he would take a call from President Trump to talk about his qualifications, and that President Trump made the call to Justice Alito on Tuesday afternoon. Justice Alito in that statement said that they did not speak about this emergency stay that would then be filed just hours later. In fact, Justice Alito told us that he didn't even know about the emergency stay. So they obviously didn't talk about it. And he said they also didn't talk about any other matters that could potentially come before the Supreme Court. But needless to say, highly unusual to hear about a president-elect having a conversation with a Supreme Court justice about anything, really, just hours before that president-elect is filing an emergency motion before the Supreme Court on a personal matter.
Unusual, for sure. And, John, Trump is due to be sentenced this Friday, but could that change, do you think, in the next 48 hours?
I mean, it sure could. The emergency application has been filed by the Trump legal team, his personal legal team, to put an end to all the criminal proceedings. The Supreme Court has asked for both sides, the government and I guess the future government, the future president, to put in their final filings on this by tomorrow morning. And the Supreme Court, if it were to act, would obviously have to act before Friday. Whether they will is anybody's guess, but absolutely Trump's legal team sure thinks that they have a chance at the Supreme Court stopping this sentencing.
We will know very soon. All right, John Karl, our thanks to you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
We're joined now by Texas Republican Senator Ted Cruz. He's also the new chair of the Senate Commerce Committee. Senator, thank you so much for your time tonight. Your home state, of course, no stranger to natural disasters. I'm sure you, like the rest of us, are just horrified by the catastrophic images coming in out of California of that devastating wildfire. During his last term, President-elect Trump was accused of at times playing partisan politics with disaster relief funds. Are you confident, as we talk today, that the citizens of Los Angeles County will in fact get all of the federal support they need when they begin their long recovery?
Well, Lindsay, what is happening right now in Southern California is truly horrific, and the images we're seeing of homes burning, of people fleeing for their lives, it's heartbreaking, and Heidi's and my prayers are going up for the people of California. You know, my wife Heidi is a native Californian, and much of her family still lives in California. A lot of them live in Southern California, and so we've been reaching out to friends and family, making sure they're okay, and I have every confidence that you will see federal disaster relief there. I'll tell you, at a time of crisis, politics should not play a part in how crisis relief is handled. And I have every confidence, whether it is wildfires in California or a hurricane in Texas or Florida or elsewhere or whatever the tragedy, it is amazing consistently when tragedy strikes how Americans come together and how they help each other.
On your podcast, The Verdict with Ted Cruz, you've talked about how you felt like the odds of a terror attack were as high as they'd been since September 11th. We, of course, saw the tragic scene in New Orleans just over a week ago. The attacker, a U.S. citizen born in your state of Texas. Are you satisfied with the law enforcement response? And what do you think can be done to prevent something like this from happening again?
Well, listen, we need to have full transparency. We need to learn the facts of what led to that horrific terror attack in New Orleans. It was the fact that it was an American-born who had been an Army veteran and who was radicalized. We need to discover what warning signs there were. How did this individual get radicalized? What could have been done to prevent it? I will say it was discouraging that immediately after the attack, the FBI's initial response was to say this was not terrorism. You literally had someone driving a truck into a crowd of people, murdering people with an ISIS flag attached to the truck. And it was clearly and unambiguously terrorism. The FBI subsequently corrected that. But I hope we have full transparency on what we know and how this could have been prevented. And the risk of terrorism is magnified by the last 4 years, the open borders that we have had. We've seen 12 million people come into this country illegally. And if you are seeking to wage war on America, if you are ISIS or Hamas or Hezbollah or Palestinian Islamic Jihad, all of whom have called for the murder of Americans, this open border we've had for 4 years has been an invitation for terrorists to cross the border.
President-elect Trump will be meeting with Senate Republicans in Washington as your party begins laying out legislative priorities. Of course, chief among them, the economy, tackling inflation, front and center in those discussions. As you well know, America's biggest trade partner is Canada, a longtime ally. President-elect Trump keeps talking about making it the 51st state. Joke or not, is there a danger in upsetting allies like Canada who may decide to send their products elsewhere?
Well, listen, this is actually a topic that I discussed at great length in today's podcast, Verdict with Ted Cruz, and I discussed Canada and Panama and Greenland, all of which President Trump have discussed. And I view those on a continuum. With respect to Canada, I think the president is basically trolling Canada. I don't think anyone thinks there's a realistic prospect that Canada will become part of the United States. But I will say it was an epic troll, and I actually think on the merits there are very strong reasons why that makes sense for the United States. Geopolitically, Greenland's location on the Arctic is incredibly important to contribute to the defense of the United States. If, God forbid, we were ever in a military conflict with Russia or China, any ICBMs would come over the Arctic targeting the United States. Greenland is ideally situated to defend America. On top of that, Greenland also has vast resources of critical earth and rare earth minerals that are essential for semiconductors, for electronics, for military equipment.
But Greenland at this point is not for sale, so why stake that as such a top priority?
Well, because anything can be not for sale until it suddenly is. Denmark right now controls Greenland. And I have to tell you, yesterday, Donald Trump Jr. traveled up to Greenland, visited with people there. I got to say, if you're a Greenlander, the possibility of becoming an American, of becoming an American territory, of getting the benefits of being an American, that is very enticing.
Senator, earlier this week marked an example of a peaceful transfer of power, strikingly different scene than 4 years ago when more than 140 police officers were injured by rioters on January 6th. Several died in the subsequent days. The president-elect has inaccurately said that none of those rioters actually had guns on that day. We know that he's talked about pardons. Should anyone who attacked an officer that day receive a pardon?
So, Lindsay, I think there should be a very clear distinction. Anyone who engaged in an act of violence, who violently assaulted a police officer, they should be prosecuted and they should go to jail. Anyone who engages in peaceful protest, free speech is protected by the Constitution of the United States, and that should be protected. So I think pardons are very much in order for individuals that did not engage in acts of violence.
Texas Senator Ted Cruz, we thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Still much more to get to tonight. Coming up, hear how Greenland is responding to President Trump's intention to buy the country. But next, our coverage continues of the catastrophe in California, from fire-raged homes to canceled fire insurance policies, the human and financial toll of American natural disasters. Stay with us.
I want you to have a really fun summer out here. I only have one rule. Stay out of the basement.
What do you got in the basement?
God's behind all the crazy stuff happening.
Who knows how kids get these ideas?
Oh, that's not good. This is gonna be cool. Good luck, man.
Are you serious? Don't dab him up.
Hold on, people. We're back.
Are you kidding me?
No way!
And starting tonight.
For the first time ever, we ask, what would kids do?
What do these kids do when they see a bully in action?
She's a freak. Stop bothering me.
You don't have to be so mean.
Do you think I'm a bully?
100%.
When people don't know hidden cameras are rolling, you won't believe what everyday heroes do.
So the question is, what would you do?
Tonight on ABC.
Reporting from the path of Hurricane Helene in Tallahassee, Florida, I'm Micah Jachi. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Welcome back, everyone. We'll, of course, continue our on-the-ground coverage of the devastating fires in Southern California in just a moment. And while there is no cost that compares to the human toll of lives lost in a disaster like this one, no doubt scores of residents will soon have to face the financial toll of these destructive fires. Let's look at the cost of American disasters by the numbers. AccuWeather released a preliminary estimate of the total damage and economic loss from the current wildfires in California, a stunning $52 to $57 billion. Since 1980, there have been 400 weather and climate disasters in the U.S. that have cost at least $1 billion, that's according to the National Centers for Environmental Information. Those disasters together have cost more than $2.78 trillion. At least 24 such events occurred in 2024, though the final numbers are still being tallied. California itself, in that time, has had 19 wildfire events costing more than $1 billion in damages. That includes 2018's Camp Fire, which cost a reported $16.5 billion and is regarded as the costliest fire to date. Meanwhile, these current fires come months after State Farm said it would drop 72,000 policies in the state as major insurance companies have been pulling back from covering parts of the state due in part to growing fire risks. Of those State Farm policies, around 1,600 were reportedly in the Pacific Palisades area where these fires are currently burning. A reported 452,000 policies in the state are covered by California's Fair Access to Insurance Requirements Plan, which is considered an insurer of last resort for people unable to get coverage. Our thoughts are certainly with the people of Southern California tonight, and will stay with them through their recovery and rebuilding. And we still have much more ahead here on Prime tonight. We'll check in on the front lines in this firefight with the Los Angeles Fire Department. But next, what you need to know about the respiratory infection HMPV as cases rise.
Hold on, people. We're back.
Are you kidding me?
No way!
And starting tonight.
For the first time ever, we ask, what would kids do?
What do these kids do when they see a bully in action?
She's a freak. Stop bothering me.
You don't have to be so mean.
Do you think I'm a bully?
100%.
When people don't know hidden cameras are rolling, you won't believe what everyday heroes do.
So the question is, what would you do?
Tonight on ABC.
I want you to have a really fun summer out here. I only have one rule. Stay out of the basement.
What do you got in the basement?
God's behind all the crazy stuff happening.
Who knows how kids get these ideas?
Oh, that's not good. This is gonna be cool. Good luck, man.
Are you serious? Don't dab him up.
Rising cases of bird flu are causing a nationwide egg shortage. Greenland responds after President Trump says he'll buy the country, and a study suggests coffee really is good for you, depending on what time you drink it. These stories and more in tonight's rundown.
Workers in Philadelphia are still trying to close up a massive sinkhole that nearly swallowed up a city bus. Surveillance video obtained by ABC station WPVI captured the moment the hole opened. It happened last week, moments after the bus went by. No injuries were reported, but the street has been closed since. Officials say the cause was a ruptured water main and say there's no current timeline for fixing the roadway. Americans are facing empty egg shelves and skyrocketing prices due to avian influenza, commonly referred to as bird flu. Cases continue to rise, impacting egg-laying flocks and forcing egg suppliers to cut production. Prices have surged nearly 38% in the past year. The USDA expects production to rebound later this year. Rapper Jay-Z has filed a motion to dismiss the ongoing sexual assault lawsuit against him. The civil lawsuit accuses Sean Jay-Z Carter and Sean Diddy Combs of sexually assaulting a then 13-year-old girl at a party following the 2000 MTV Video Music Awards. Both men have denied the allegations. Jay-Z's attorney argues the claims are false, citing what he calls inconsistencies in the plaintiff's story, and is calling for sanctions against the lawyer who filed the suit. Chinese health officials are monitoring an increase in cases of a respiratory illness called human metapneumovirus, or HMPV. Cases have been steadily increasing in the U.S. since November 2024, according to data from the CDC. While the agency is watching the situation in China, it says there's no cause for concern in the U.S. right now. Greenland's finance minister, Erik Jensen, firmly stated that Greenland is not for sale, following comments from President-elect Donald Trump. Trump suggested using military force to take control of Greenland, along with the Panama Canal and Canada, claiming they were vital for U.S. national security. Greenland's finance minister emphasized that the island's future is for its people to decide, and that it will never be sold or controlled by the U.S. New research suggests the timing of drinking coffee may impact its health benefits. A study published in the European Heart Journal found that drinking coffee between 4 a.m. and noon was linked to a 16% lower risk of premature death and a 31% lower risk of dying from heart disease. However, drinking coffee later in the day did not show the same positive effects. So for better heart health, researchers say fill that coffee cup up in the morning hours.
Now back to our coverage of those deadly raging wildfires in California. We want to check in with ABC's Jacqueline Lee, who's in the Pacific Palisades. Jacqueline, what's the latest on the conditions there?
Well, Lindsay, the winds have not died down whatsoever. And actually, up on that hillside, you can see a fire has re-emerged. It has reignited, and it is consuming a structure up there. This just shows you how dangerous the situation still is. Even though the hillside seemed to be calm earlier today, I mean, it just takes a wind gust and an ember to reignite. It is so hot up there, and that is what fire officials are warning residents, is when you need to evacuate, you have to go, because these fires can reemerge at any point in time. Now, here in the Pacific Palisades, for those who are not familiar, this is typically a tourist destination. It is normally beautiful when there's not a massive fire raging on. I mean, take a look. Lindsay, this is the Pacific Ocean. The sun is setting. There's typically joggers running at all hours of the day. But obviously, as you can see, it's very apocalyptic here with a lot of smoke, making it very difficult to see and to breathe. We are covered in ash. The conditions here are still very difficult, Lindsay.
Yeah, we can actually see the ash on your jacket that you're wearing there. What are residents telling you?
You know, what's hard about a massive fire like this is you never know when to evacuate if you're on the border of an evacuation zone. And again, here's these wind gusts that we talked about. And this is the wind is what residents are most concerned about, because while some may not live in an evacuation order area, it just takes a wind gust to then take those embers and take that fire and spread it to their homes, especially if they live close by. So now people are doing this mental calculus of is it worth it to try to go to a hotel or go to a shelter if you have pets, if you have kids, but you're not ordered to evacuate. It's very difficult for people, Lindsay, and that's what people are trying to figure out right now.
All right, Jacqueline, our thanks to you. Please stay safe. Now I want to bring in an update on the brave first responders at the front lines of this fight. For that, we're joined by Lindsay Lance of the Los Angeles Fire Department. Thank you so much for joining us. First off, just want to start by asking how you and your firefighters are holding up.
Hey, Lindsay, thanks for having me on. We're doing okay. Everyone's tired. You know, these first few days, especially getting everything organized, getting assignments out, figuring out where the fire is, where it's going, how the weather is changing, how the fire is creating new weather. These are the most important and most difficult hours. So it's one step at a time. It's 1 hour at a time. And we're all just working together as best we can.
We keep hearing people use the term apocalyptic, and just put this in perspective for us with regard to the superlatives of it all. Have you ever experienced a fire like this before in L.A.?
You know, Lindsay, it's we've been, as a public information officer, I've been all over the city just today, and this fire is reaching parts of the city that are seemingly unconnected to this area, the Palisades, on any other given day here in Southern California. Downtown is just brown. The air is dirty and sooty, and your eyes burn wherever you are. Apocalyptic is not an exaggeration. We're all connected. These winds are touching everyone today, and I know that the evacuations and the homes lost are touching everyone. If you live in the city of LA and don't know someone that has lost their home, it's a bit of a miracle right now.
There are some people who've said, you know, the city should have been more prepared. Was there any way that you could be better prepared for this?
You know, it's tough. We have a limited number of firefighters. We have a limited number of boots on the ground. We have a limited number of resources always. That's always going to be a finite number. And a lot of us are up here. We also still have our coworkers back in the city responding to 911 calls threefold up yesterday from our normal call volume. And that's in addition to the firefight here. There have been budget cuts. We are struggling against staffing and, you know, finances. That's always the case. And we press on. You know, this is what we're trained for. This is what we've committed to, and we just keep doing our best.
With the wind conditions where they are, how much air support were you able to get today?
You know, we were able to bring back the air support. Everything was grounded around 7:30 last night, so our acreage totals, our water drops, all of that stopped overnight. We have been able to get copters back up in the air tonight. We've been able to get, or today, I'm sorry. We have been able to get our assessment aircraft back up in the air, look at the fire, to wrap our brains around it and make plans using that aerial reconnaissance. So the winds they're dying down. They still are bad, like Jacqueline was saying. The ember cast is still significant. Things are catching on fire that you just don't expect. It's still unpredictable, but we are moving slowly toward better wind conditions. Tomorrow afternoon, we expect the red flag warning to be discontinued and to really start being able to fight the fire rather than to just try to outrun it.
Yeah, well, that is at least good news, but our hearts continue to be with you. Lindsay Lance, we thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Lindsay. My pleasure.
Unprecedented, apocalyptic, just some of the words that continue to be used by our ABC colleagues on the ground to describe those fires in Southern California. The heartbreaking images of homes, schools, businesses, all consumed by what many describe as hell on earth. But we end this hour with the people putting their hands and hearts to work to help a fellow neighbor or just another soul during what could be some of their darkest hours.
The scenes are surreal.
seemingly apropos for a major motion picture emanating from Hollywood, not blazing in its backyard.
Homes are burning everywhere. They're everywhere.
The ominous orange glow clouded by thick plumes of black smoke. Palisades, Eaton, Hearst, Lydia, and Woodley fires lighting up these western skies.
Oh, it's right there. Right there. Is passing by.
It's getting close down here.
The devastation engulfing entire neighborhoods, houses destroyed by the flames.
You're seeing everything around you get on fire, and you're just trying your best to water everything out. We're just watering our roofs, watering the neighbors' roofs. The neighbors are taking care of the neighbors right now. You know, we're doing our best to keep each other safe here.
In Altadena, desperation is growing alongside the flames.
Eyes are red, crying, this is all fire, crying, like just everything, mixed emotions. Me and my family, we're just trying to protect our houses as much as we can. You know, our poor neighbors, their houses are gone. This house is everything to us. This is all we really have.
It's been called a bulletless war as these heroic first responders work tirelessly day and night, racing into the danger zone to battle the blistering blaze as residents attempt to flee.
Everything is on fire.
These dire scenes are playing out all across LA County. Overnight, nurses in this convalescent assisted living facility doing whatever they can to get their residents to safety, filing residents out in wheelchairs and mobile beds, evacuating them before their home is reduced to ashes. Today, silhouettes of exhausted firefighters standing before that convalescent home engulfed in flames, abandoned wheelchairs and mobile beds littering the ground. But evidence of resilience emerges amidst the destruction. Neighbors uniting in their own firefight, banding together, trying to keep the fast-moving flames at bay long enough to salvage what they can.
When you see your next door neighbor's house on fire, it's really hard not to try to help out.
Obviously, this home is completely on fire behind me, but the man next door doing everything in his power to make sure that fire does not spread. I've been seeing more and more neighbors show up in this community to try to help people, to try to save their homes.
That home, a shadow of what once was.
All the stuff that's here is replaceable. People are not. So having the family is the most important thing.
It makes me want to cry that, for one thing, that we were not here with them, shoulder to shoulder.
A burden no one should have to shoulder, playing out again and again, subject to the whim of the wind. And that is our show for this hour. I'm Lindsay Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. Thank you so much for streaming with us. And coming up in the next hour, another dangerous night ahead for Los Angeles. Multiple wildfires continue to burn across the city with more wind in the forecast. Plus, on another deadly day in the Gaza Strip, the IDF confirms 2 Israeli hostages have been found dead there. The latest on the ceasefire talks.
What makes Elton John so iconic?
Everyone's talking about
Elton John.
Sir Elton John. Elton John.
Elton
John.
There will never be another. Everything that you want Elton John to be is.
Superstar and a legend. Now, Elton John opens up the exclusive interview with Elton John.
I'm still standing, and I am better than I ever did. And there's a lot more to come.
Elton John, still standing. Now streaming on Hulu.
Is suffocated. We are all here to help them. We're going to make this happen. We have 96 hours to build a house.
Come on, guys, it's moving day. Let's go. It can't be real.
This was more than just extreme home makeover. This was extreme life makeover.
Extreme Makeover Home Edition, Thursday on ABC and stream on Hulu.
Reporting from Monterey Park, California, I'm Robin Roberts. Wherever the story is, we're going to take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Lindsay Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We begin with the multiple fires that continue to burn across the Los Angeles area. 5 fires over the last 24 hours, transforming parts of America's most populated county into a hellscape. And tonight, with thousands of structures destroyed, the deadly fire is nowhere near contained. In the Pacific Palisades neighborhood, home after home now burned to the ground. The iconic town center in that community wiped away, as countless families are facing the realization that everything they own is now just smoldering debris. We're awaiting a major update from L.A. County officials at this hour. Earlier, L.A. County's top firefighter admitted the county was not ready for this kind of widespread disaster. We have a lot to get to tonight, but we do begin with ABC News World News Tonight anchor David Muir in Pacific Palisades with a look at the devastation.
Tonight, the deadly apocalyptic scene, wildfires tearing through Los Angeles. They now fear thousands of homes destroyed here, at least 5 people dead. Authorities saying there are many, quote, significant injuries. This evening across Los Angeles, there are now 5 major wildfires: the Palisades fire, the Eaton fire, the Hearst fire, the Lydia fire, and the Woodley fire. Homes and cars burning tonight. Fierce winds sending fire embers down the street. The flames reaching the ocean.
All this is going to be gone.
We travel with CAL FIRE Battalion Chief Brent Pesquois, who says he has never seen anything like this. We're on the Pacific Coast Highway. We turn into one of the neighborhoods in Pacific Palisades. This small school burning.
You can hear the bangs going off.
Yeah, the fire's ripping through that school right there. You can see the cars here charred.
And then we see it, home after home, burning.
Well, it's just jumping from home to home right now. With this wind, there's nothing to stop it.
As we drive up into the hills, the charred cars, where families simply stopped, got out, and escaped.
These people who were coming down from the hills here decided to give up because the fire was encroaching?
Right. The traffic was so bad, they figured their chances were better getting out on foot and running the rest of the way out of here.
I mean, it's an apocalyptic scene here.
It is. You see where the bulldozer had to come through and push the cars aside so we can get up here.
The bulldozers moving the cars so that fire trucks could get through.
So we're now 24 hours into this disaster, and we've got another multiple homes in a row here in flames.
Yeah, the wind is just pushing this fire from home to home to home, and you'll see it. It's even running down canyon to the homes that are below these homes. So there's just no stopping it when the winds are this strong. Everything's going to burn.
We walk through the darkened neighborhoods here, smoke hovering over the homes, many still crackling from the flames. Overnight, Joshua Opheim and his dog trying to escape the fires surrounding them on Sunset Boulevard.
Embers coming off.
Captain Eric Scott with the LA Fire Department sharing this image from downtown Los Angeles. Thick smoke from the wildfires taking over the view of the sky. The air quality tonight, dangerous.
The fires being fueled by a combination of strong Santa Ana winds and surrounding topography, which makes it extremely challenging for us firefighters.
Authorities are calling this an extremely rare, life-threatening Santa Ana wind event. Gusts reaching 100 miles per hour. More than 35,000 residents under evacuation orders. Nearly 1 million now without power. Residents here tell us they have lost everything.
This is pretty devastating. This is pretty devastating. I don't think LA's seen anything like this before.
Tonight, the California National Guard has been called in to help fire departments across LA County who are overwhelmed. From the air tonight, a fuller scope of the devastation. A United Airlines passenger capturing this view out his window. That flight diverted. Thousands of firefighters spanning out, racing to contain the flames. The new fires jumping from home to home.
Bro, I don't.
And residents here doing whatever they can. This young man, Orly Israel, trying to use a fire hose to beat back the flames in his own backyard.
Bro, we gotta go.
You can hear the intense fire crackling.
Oh. All right.
Fire alarm going off.
Yeah, let's get out of here. We tried.
His friend there, Tanner Schaff, wearing a mask, trying to help him, trying to save the home.
We tried our best.
They both escaped through the front door, running to safety. The homes, the trees all around them on fire.
Hey, there's nothing we can do now, bro.
And then they pray.
God, protect this house in the name of Jesus. Protect this neighborhood, God. In Jesus' name, I pray, amen.
Palisades, I see LAV1.
The biggest fire, the Palisades fire, entire streets engulfed. American flags waving as the building behind them is nearly gone. One firefighter with a hose trained at the front door, though every home there on fire. Firefighting aircraft dropping water on burning homes. The fire unrelenting, the fierce wind sending embers traveling miles away. Fire and smoke pouring out of this home's window. Some 40 miles away, the Eaton fire in Pasadena. Tonight, these new aerial images revealing what the wildfires have done there.
But these are sad sights, and we've seen so much of this, you know, into last year, and then now again in 2025. This is heartbreaking. I feel for these people.
The Pasadena Preschool Academy on fire. The residents at this senior living facility, the terraces at Park Marino, rushed out of their bedrooms, wearing masks to protect them from the air. They were rescued. A heroic effort by the LA Fire Department and emergency response teams across the region tonight. They are saving lives amidst the horror.
The scope of the loss here, though, is unimaginable.
It's devastating. It's devastating, and I feel for those people. I've spoke to some of them. I hear it in their voices. It tears at my heartstrings, too. But like I said, at the end of the day, they were alive. They knew they would rebuild and come back better. And I just gave them a hug, and I said, you know, please reach out with anything you need.
Well, there's no question you've saved lives here.
That was our goal. Yeah. That's our #1 priority.
Thank you.
Certainly tears at all of our heartstrings. Want to bring in ABC's Mola Lange in Altadena, just north of Pasadena. Mola, show us some of the devastation you're seeing. Is that a home actually that's on fire right behind you?
Yeah, Lindsay, that's one of many homes still on fire. This is actually, in terms of the flames, this is reduced from what it was maybe just like 30, 40 minutes ago. The flames are actually starting to die down. But this house completely engulfed at one point. And then you've got scenes like this right next door, homes completely destroyed, reduced to ash, rubble. Little flames still happening right here, obviously still smoldering. This one has been destroyed for today, but this right here, not a one-off. Let's pan just a little bit over here and you can get a kind of a view of the entire neighborhood. I mean, it's one home after another, Lindsay. This entire block pretty much gone up. What's left of it is what you're looking at right now, not much. We saw folks out here throughout the day who were, you know, grabbing buckets of water, grabbing their garden hoses, trying to protect their homes, trying to put out flames. You know, firefighters, as we know, have been stretched incredibly thin. So people did what they could to try to not only save their homes, but if they felt like their homes were okay, they'd run across the street and work on their neighbors' homes. It really was a neighbor helping neighbor sort of atmosphere. Some folks were able to save their homes. As you can see, a lot of folks were not. We saw a lot of folks who were just eventually beat, exhausted from working on the fires all day, really doing it on their own and just exhausted, sitting on the sidewalk eventually and just watching their homes go up in flames. Firefighters have been canvassing this neighborhood, but as we know, they are stretched incredibly thin. They've only been able to get to so many. They have certainly been putting out flames as well. But as we heard from some city officials in Pasadena today, despite the conditions and the lack of resources, they say the fight will go on.
The battle continues, as does our resolve. We will put out the fire, and then it will be time to rebuild. In this community, we may get knocked down, but we always pick ourselves up.
Well, Lindsay, fire officials, fire departments, they've been sending resources from all across the state and other states to try to continue to help in this ongoing battle that we were seeing here.
And Mola, just quickly before you go, you were talking about people who were there trying to put out their own fires. We've seen some cars on the street and even drive by while you were just talking. Have people seemed to heed the evacuation orders, or are they still, in some cases, in their neighborhoods?
Yeah, for the most part, people seem to have heeded these evacuation warnings. This feels like a very empty neighborhood in terms of people. There are certainly some folks who are still here, who are riding it out, some folks who are coming back to put eyes on their properties, some folks who never left, who wanted to help their neighbors and wanted to make sure that their properties were okay. But I would say, based on what we've seen, the overwhelming majority of folks have listened to the warnings, have listened to the evacuation orders, and have left the neighborhoods.
All right, Molawangi, our thanks to you. Now to the thousands of families who took desperate measures to save their homes, but then had to quickly grab their most precious belongings and escape. Our chief national correspondent, Matt Gutman, has the latest on that front.
Tonight, abandoned cars, hillsides burning. The Palisades fire also scorching LA's most upscale beachside town of Malibu. Fleeing families trying to thread a tunnel of fire with both sides of the Pacific Coast Highway engulfed.
All of PCH is on fire right now. It is like driving through hell itself down here. Literally through hell. This is madness down here. These homes are on fire, and you can feel the heat from the flames, even from inside your car.
Hopefully they're going to save our house. Hopefully they're going to save our house.
Frank DeMarco tried to save his Malibu home himself, but with flames feet away, he had no choice but to get in his car and get out.
Look at this. Look at this. Everything is on fire. Everything's on fire. I don't know what to do here.
With firefighters spread so thin, the howling winds spreading flames like seeds across Southern California.
There is nothing left of these neighborhoods. House after house on both sides of the street, completely gone. Many of them still on fire, not a firefighter in sight, and you can see all these embers being cast. And all that's left in many of these neighborhoods are just chimneys, burning homes.
And by daybreak, the flames even stronger.
The ferocity of what we are seeing, this house that has become a blowtorch, very quickly igniting the other house. You can hear all that popping. Gives you a sense of why so many neighborhoods here have been completely obliterated.
Former beach volleyball champion Randy Stolkos has lived here all his life.
This is paradise. This is one of the finest places in the world to live. And unfortunately, it's gotten turned upside down.
And LA County's fire chief admitting with major fires burning around Los Angeles, they just can't fight them all.
We're doing the very best we can, but no, we don't have enough fire personnel in LA County between all of the departments to handle this.
All right, our thanks to Matt Gutman for that. Imagine seeing your home burn down via your home camera. That's exactly what happened to Zibby and Kyle Owens. They joined my fellow ABC News Live anchor Diane Macedo earlier today. We're going to go to them in a moment because I'm hearing now that we are having a live press conference now. The city's mayor, local leaders are going to answer questions from the press on those wildfires threatening Southern California. Let's listen in.
Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Lindsay Horvath. Following that, we'll hear from LA City Fire Chief Kristen Crowley. Following that, we'll hear from LA County Fire Chief Anthony Maroney. After that, we'll hear from LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell, then Sheriff Robert Luna, and following that, we'll hear from LADWP General Manager Janice Quinones, as well as Superintendent Alberto Carvalho. The mayor will come back to the podium and open it up for questions. I'll call on questions from the left. And with that, Mayor Best.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I stand here today with incredible sympathy and concern about the devastation and the tragedy that our city and county are facing. And I definitely want to send my condolences to the families who lost loved ones, to the families and neighborhoods who lost property. This firestorm is the big one in magnitude. Hurricane-force winds are usually accompanied by rainstorms, but these are hurricane-force winds that are combined with extremely dry drought conditions. To provide context, at 10:20 a.m. yesterday, the Palisades fire was at 10 acres. 12 minutes later, it was at 200 acres. To those who fled their homes, especially those who have lost your homes, our hearts are breaking for you, and we stand with you. I know the world is looking at images of our city's devastation. I have seen the front lines of the Palisades fire, and it is staggering. I've been in constant contact with our fire commanders, with county, state, and federal officials. I took the fastest route back, which included being on a military plane, which facilitated our communications. So I was able to be on the phone the entire time of the flight. We are fighting for you and everyone in Los Angeles. Thank you to our first responders who waded into flames, pulled people from cars, and got them to safety no matter how dangerous. And thank you to everyone who heeded our warnings to evacuate. Tonight, more people may get evacuation orders, and if they do, please leave immediately. If you have an evacuation warning, get ready to go. Protect yourself and each other, and support our firefighters on the front lines. Our strategy included preparations and pre-deployment, and it now includes fire crews from around the state and from our federal partners. We are also adapting in real time. These winds continue to blow. So let me be clear. I am making sure that we leave no resource untapped. Firefighters are now on scene from across the state and across the country. I spoke with President Biden today and Governor Newsom earlier today, and they assured me of full federal and state support. As we head into tonight, we are still facing strong and erratic winds. In Palisades and in Sylmar, we are very much in an active firefight. I can report to you that the Woodley fire, however, in the Sepulveda Basin is under control. I can also report that finally air operations have resumed, and that is a big deal, but it is up to the winds as to how long the air support can continue. But these conditions are highly volatile. We've seen a devastating fire in the Pasadena area. Fires have sparked up in Simi Valley and on the LA and Ventura County line. And as our firefighters do battle on the front lines, all of us must be vigilant. So if you receive an evacuation order, please leave immediately. If you receive a warning, get ready. Protect yourself and protect each other. And don't divert firefighters from our strategy. Signals are out and the roads have debris. So stay off the roads unless you are evacuating or have another emergency. Be prepared, food, water, medicine, a bag packed and ready. Again, this is an active situation. And conserve water to the extent that you can. We want to make sure that we are ready if we need more water. But make no mistake, Los Angeles will rebuild stronger than ever. Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this. Through the heroism of our firefighters, the vigilance of Angelenos, and the spirit of our city. This is a big moment. It is a big moment for all of us to come together, for Angelenos to be united, for Angelenos to be prepared to help each other. This is who we are. LA will rise, and make no mistake, I am confident that we will rebuild. And with that, I would like to introduce LA County Board of Supervisor Chair, Catherine Barger.
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to thank you for your leadership. I know when this first hit, we were in constant contact, so thank you for being a true leader to this great city of Los Angeles. Obviously, as someone who represents the 5th District, we are prone to wildfires, but nothing like what I witnessed today. The Eaton Canyon fire is ripping through a community like I have never seen. It is like a third world country out there. I would ask anyone listening, if you do not need to be in the area and you've been evacuated, please heed the evacuation warning. And if you don't live in the area, please stay away. I was shocked to see people walking around that don't live up there, that are just taking a look at what's going on. We have firefighter and first responders that are trying to do their job, and it's important for us to all support them and make sure that we provide space so that they can get it done. The county has lost many facilities. Our parks, our Eaton Canyon Nature Center, our senior center. I'm sure the sheriff will talk about the fact that we almost lost our sheriff's station, but it's been evacuated. We are going to rebuild. And when we met with the governor and the president, the resources and the promises have been made. And it's going to be our job to deliver. And I am confident, given the resiliency of this great county, working with all of our partners, we will rebuild. And to my friends out there that I have talked to today that have lost their homes up in Eaton Canyon, I am a phone call away, and you are not alone. And to those of you that have lost homes, please reach out for help. You are not alone. It's important for us to recognize that these people have lost everything. In many cases, their entire life savings. So as we move forward, we're going to make sure the Department of Mental Health has resources on the ground. But if you need someone to talk to, reach out. Reach out. Love thy neighbor. So with that, I would like to invite Supervisor Lindsay Horvath up, my colleague who represents the 3rd District, the Palisades Fire.
Thank you very much. Earlier today, I visited the Westwood Recreation Center, where I was able to listen, to grieve, and to be with evacuees in this time of crisis. To also thank the volunteers, but most importantly, to let each person know in this time of crisis that they're not alone. To everyone feeling the anguish of this tragedy, the county will be here for you no matter what as we recover from these fires. But we're not out of this yet, and we need to continue to follow all guidance from our emergency personnel. I want to thank you for evacuating, for letting our first responders do their job, and for keeping your loved ones safe. Here are the updates from the 3rd District. Since our last press conference, evacuation orders have expanded into Santa Monica to San Vicente, and evacuation warnings now include Montana to Wilshire, Ocean to 11th. Gas shutoffs are affecting more than 15,000 people in Malibu, from Brentwood Country Club to Pepperdine. A boil water advisory is now in effect for LA County Waterworks District 29. This is the Sunset Mesa community from Topanga Beach and Coastline Drive on the south to Shore Heights Drive on the north, and from Topanga Canyon Road to Carbon Canyon Road in Malibu, including communities of Big Rock and Carbon Mesa. For more information about water, you can call 800-675-4357. Barry J. Nydorf Juvenile Hall remains in an evacuation warning area. Should the warning become an order, the chief has developed a plan for safe evacuation. Our young people's safety remains my top priority. Today, we also received agreement from the President of the United States to approve a major disaster declaration, which will include individual assistance and public assistance programs. President Biden, we are so grateful. Additionally, our County Department of Mental Health is activated for mental health resources. You can call the helpline at 800-854-7771 for 24/7 support and mental health resources. We know this is a traumatic time. Please ask for help. The county has also invested additional funding into our 211 system to increase capacity. LASA has activated the Augmented Winter Shelter Program to provide shelter to our unhoused community during this time. LA County Assessor Jeffrey Prang has shared property tax installment deferral applications, misfortune calamity damage reassessment applications, and a disaster relief FAQ for property owners affected by the fires. You can go to assessor.lacounty.gov. The Emergency Network LA is coordinating volunteers. To sign up, go to enla.org. In addition, the American Red Cross and LA Food Bank have all set up specific donation websites that you can access at emergency.lacounty.gov. Downed trees and power lines are impacting public transit service. And I want to thank Chair of our Metro Board, Supervisor Janice Hahn, for her speed and waiving Metro fares on today because of station power outages. But please, if you are in a safe place and you don't need to travel, stay put and stay safe. For those evacuating, Uber is providing rides for free up to $40 to get to active shelters. This includes Pasadena Civic Auditorium, Westwood Recreation Center, El Camino Real Charter, Richie Valens Rec Center, and you can use the promo code WILDFIRE25. Tonight, the winds will remain strong, but our resolve is stronger. This emergency will continue. Let's keep each other safe, heed emergency instruction, and pray for the success of our frontline and first responders. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce LA City Fire Chief Kristen Crowley.
Good evening, everyone. As Southern California is continuing to endure some of the most historic fire conditions on record, extreme fire weather driven by strong and erratic winds and low humidity have ignited multiple fires across our region. The LAFD is fully committed to continuously monitoring and adapting to the evolving nature of this weather event and stands ready to respond to any additional incidents that may arise. Now, how did we prepare? We prepared in many, many ways, but I want to focus on two main things. We augmented our staffing levels and strategically pre-deployed our additional resources. In addition, we have recalled off-duty LAFD firefighters to augment our response across the entire city. I'll be providing a brief on a few of the incidents within the city. As we know, the Palisades fire continues to demand significant local, regional, state, and federal resources. Currently, the fire is over 15,800 acres and is growing, with 1,792 personnel who are currently assigned. And as we know, I want to be very, very clear that this incident is very, very dynamic as we speak. The good news, the winds have subsided a bit, enough to allow our fixed wing and rotor wing aircraft to provide critical air support to this fire. Next up is the Hearst fire. The Hearst fire has grown to over 700 acres with 260 personnel assigned to this specific incident. There are evacuation orders in place with multiple structures that are threatened. We continue to focus on fire and life safety. The Woodley incident. It is controlled and approximately has burned 30 acres. I want to clarify a little something before Chief Maroney comes up. The Eaton fire, we are closely monitoring this specific fire. It is in the county, and we are absolutely paying very, very close attention to see how else we can assist. If it does come into the city, we are ready. Now, in addition to the large-scale brush fires, in the past 24 hours, the LAFD has responded to an additional 3,950 911 calls for service within the city. This also includes 10 structure fires. We have treated and transported an extensive number of medical emergencies throughout the city. Now, the LAFD also continues to assess and allocate resources to ensure timely and effective responses across the entire city. As the situation evolves, the LAFD remains steadfast in its mission, working closely with our local, state, and federal partners to mitigate the impacts of this unprecedented fire condition. Also, I want to talk about a few of the challenges and adaptations. Multiple incidents throughout this region. We are going to talk about all of these fires within Southern California. We're utilizing mutual aid partners from across the region, state, and adjoining states, and firefighters are surging into Southern California as we speak. Also, the challenges with water pressure in the Palisades. Standard firefighting adaptations for water. What we do when water is limited. We have the ability to pull water from ponds. We can pull water from pools. We're utilizing as many water tenders that we have, and we're working very, very closely with DWP on this. Next, we will continue to focus. I want to make very, very clear, saving lives first, evacuations, and rescues. We are not out of danger. You can see the active fires that are burning. With strong winds that are going to continue throughout the night, I can tell you and assure you that firefighters and first responders remain focused on protecting lives and property. We urge the public to help us by doing the following. Stay informed through trusted news and official updates. Be prepared to evacuate if you live near wildland areas. Follow all evacuation warnings and orders without delay. We also ask the public to stay off the roadways and away from any of the impacted areas. Now, the LAFD and other partners, we're working so closely together. We are absolutely united in our top priority, and that is saving lives. Ensuring that the safe evacuation and rescue of our residents in harm's way remains our absolute top priority and our focus during this wind-driven fire. Thank you, Mayor Bass, the elected leaders who are here, and for all and every single firefighter, first responder, boots on the ground that are doing the work. Together we can continue to protect our communities and keep everybody safe. Next, I'd like to go ahead and introduce the fire chief from Los Angeles County, which is Anthony Maroney.
So good evening. Thank you for the comprehensive update, Chief Crowley. My name is Anthony Maroney. I'm the County of Los Angeles Fire Chief, and I'm going to give an LA County update in addition to a Region 1 update. For the Eaton Fire in Los Angeles County, Altadena, Pasadena, and Sierra Madre, the LA County Fire Department continues to be in unified command with the U.S. Forest Service and the Pasadena and Sierra Madre Fire Departments, in addition to our law enforcement partners. The fire has been mapped this at 10,600 acres, and it is still growing. We have 0% containment. We have over 750 firefighting personnel assigned on the line, and mutual aid resources from out of state, including Arizona, have arrived to assist us with this firefight. Unfortunately, we have 5 reported civilian fatalities, a number of injuries, and over 1,000 structures damaged or destroyed. The cause of the investigation, Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and the U.S. Forest Service arson investigators, and the moment we learn the cause of this fire, we will advise the media. We also have a new fire start in the Acton area of Los Angeles County, the Lydia Fire, estimated to be between 80 and 100 acres, 30% contained, and thankfully, forward progress has been stopped. As the Region 1 coordinator, I did request mutual aid from the 5 counties of Los Angeles, Orange County, Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo counties yesterday. Additionally, last night, I contacted the State Office of Emergency Services and requested 250 additional engine companies from Northern California, staffed with over 1,000 personnel. At this time, the state of California is exercising their emergency compacts with the western states of Arizona, Nevada, Utah, Oregon, and Washington for additional firefighting resources and personnel to come to Los Angeles County to assist us with this widespread fire emergency. One data point is that we have 60 units responding from Oregon, 45 units responding from Washington, 10 units responding from New Mexico, 15 units responding from Utah, and numerous units responding from Arizona. Currently, the National Weather Service has predicted that this red flag warning will remain in effect for Los Angeles County and much of Ventura County through Friday. Thank you, and I would now like to invite up to the podium Los Angeles Police Chief Jim McDonald.
Thank you very much, Chief. I just want to say a few things and not to repeat what's already been said any more than needs to be stressed, but a sincere thank you to everybody who's out there in the impacted area for your patience and your support, to our first responders and support departments who have been out there from the very beginning doing the very best they can to protect everybody. The word resilience was used, and that's what it's going to be. We're going to be an example of resilience in the very best sense of the word. We're going to bounce back from this, and it's going to be a challenging week ahead, but we're going to be able to get through it by working together. These have been unprecedented conditions, as you've heard over and over again, and the fire has been very unpredictable. That is why the need for vigilance is I can't stress enough how much we got to pay attention to our neighbors, to our own yards and property, and be able to catch something quickly if we get something sparking off. I think that is critical. This is not over, long from over. Our job primarily is to assist in a support capacity our fire partners with evacuation, with traffic control, and with crime suppression. And on the crime suppression front, you've heard also about the potential for looting, people going in and taking advantage of the worst possible circumstances to be able to enrich themselves. That will not be tolerated at all. And my ask is that everybody stay out of the impacted areas unless you live there, unless you have a real reason to be there. Our officers will be out there. They'll be watching for this, and we're taking this very, very seriously. So I want to thank you again for your work with us, to our media partners, for all that you've been able to do to get the message out there and keep people safe. It's now my honor to introduce Los Angeles County Sheriff Robert Luna.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you all for covering this very important story. So as I stand here before you with my partners around me, please know that I have several hundred LA County deputy sheriffs along with other police officers who are working all the impacted areas out there. They're involved in evacuations. They're involved in traffic control, ingress and egress into the area. They're involved in security, which the chief talked about, and I talked about it earlier. We're up to 3 arrests with looting. That is 100% unacceptable. I'm going to repeat it. If you do not belong in these areas, do not go there. We have additional people that we've brought in just to make sure that people's property are left alone. These people have gone through so much. Don't put them through more than they have to go through. And then we're on humanitarian missions. I have deputies dropping off food, blankets, and other things to people who have either been evacuated or who just need somebody to talk to and, frankly, just give a hug to. Those are the kind of things that we're doing out there. I do want to talk about evacuations. Regarding the Eaton fire, we have over 70,000 of our community members who have been impacted by either evacuation orders and or warnings. The Palisades fire, approximately 60,000 who have been impacted by evacuation orders or warnings. As I said earlier, we have called in additional resources, not only for what's in front of us, but looking around the corner, what's next. Both fire chiefs have made it very clear we are not out of danger. There's a lot of work to be done. For me, in my other role as mutual aid coordinator, just to give you an example, as we are not only calling in our resources, we check with other departments, both in the county and outside the county. And we've provided Pasadena Police Department with additional resources, one from the Long Beach Police Department in a mutual aid capacity, and from the Orange County Sheriff's Department. So I'd like to thank those two departments. And that's something we do in law enforcement. Santa Monica's asked for help last night, and we also coordinate in helping with that as well. Chief Maroney mentioned it. Unfortunately, we do have 5 fatalities. We're praying that that number doesn't increase, but there's a lot of work to do. And we'll see what happens there. We are up to 3 looting arrests as we speak. And then the last thing I'd like to leave you with again is earlier I spoke about evacuation warnings, evacuation orders, and a lot of road closures that are taking place in both of these locations. I'm not going to go through them all, but I encourage our community members to go to lacounty.gov/emergency, where you will get updates on those orders, warnings, and road closures. And again, I am really proud of our community overall. Sometimes we talk about the looting and people who aren't listening. I'm going to tell you, 99% of the people are listening, and I think that's why hopefully the injuries and fatalities and all those ugly things will stay down. So thank you to our LA County residents for working with us in partnership. And now I'd like to introduce LADWP General Manager Janice Quiñones.
Thank you and good evening. I'm Janice Quiñones, CEO and Chief Engineer of LADWP. In preparation for the windstorm, LADWP activated its emergency preparation plans and filled all 114 available water reservoirs and storage facilities throughout the city, including the 3 1-million-gallon tanks in the Palisades area. We also fuel all our generators serving our pump stations to ensure water will flow out through the emergency. We're working very closely and side by side with LA Fire Department and CAL FIRE in the command post to manage the water supplies. I want to be very clear that the water continues to flow in the Palisades area through our main system. We haven't had any disruption into the water system, but because the winds were severely limited, the air operations, the number of fire hoses connected to the fire hydrants depleted our tanks in the area, specifically in higher elevations. We immediately implemented our contingency plans to provide water trucks to support our firefighters, and our crews are working on how to refill those tanks during this very moment. Conditions for our crew are very hazardous, so we ask for your patience. We have deployed 19 water tankers to continue to provide water to fire departments on the firefighting efforts. And our engineers continue to look at other options to connect our systems and fill those water tanks faster. We're also asking our customers on the west side to conserve water to make sure that we have water available and ready as the winds and the dry conditions continue. And in the Palisade area, because of the fire conditions, there is a boil water notice in effect for SIC code 90272, and the area north of San Vicente Boulevard and to the south. It's not citywide. Again, it's 90272 SIC code. If you want more information about the boil notices, go to ladwp.com for details. In terms of the power restoration efforts, LADWP has requested mutual assistance from Pacific Gas and Electric, and we're also working very closely with Southern California Edison to support each other while we restore power as quickly and safely as possible. As of 5 p.m. today, we have restored power to over 133,000 customers, and we have about 123 customers still out of power. We have 50 customers that have been out of power for more than 18 hours, and we're prioritizing those outages. Based on our current conditions and for the safety of our crews, if your power is out, you should plan for at least 24 hours before our crews can respond to make repairs. If you see a wire down, call 911 or report that to LADWP. Our number is 1-800-DIAL-DWP. Some areas, specifically those in fire areas, will take longer because we got to get clearance from the fire department to come and make repairs. I want to thank PG&E again, at Southern California Edison, and the Metropolitan Water District for their support in this response. And now I want to introduce LAUSD Superintendent Alberto Carvalho.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor, for your leadership. I also want to thank the leadership of the city and the county, particularly those who are leading brave men and women as frontline warriors, our first responders in dealing with this unprecedented set of circumstances. My function here today is to thank those who are collaborating in this community effort. Number one, to thank our workforce who today courageously brought 70% of our student body back to schools. They depend on nutrition, education, and support. But I also want to make an announcement specific to tomorrow. We certainly were hoping that conditions would significantly improve, that winds would subside, that the number of active fires would decrease, not necessarily increase. There would be a degree of stabilization. Unfortunately, despite the heroic efforts of our frontline men and women, that is not the case. Unfortunately, as a result of the unpredictability of high winds, a number of simultaneous fires throughout the community, a number of clouds of smoke, dust, have permeated into our communities, making conditions less than desirable and in some instances downright dangerous. Our first priority is to protect the well-being of our workforce and our students. That is exactly what we are duty-bound to do. So after ample consultation with leaders, after clear examination of the data available, and entering a second night of this crisis, it is prudent to announce that all schools across Los Angeles Unified will be closed tomorrow, effective immediately. That applies not only to K-12 centers, applies to early education centers, career and technical centers, as well as adult education centers. Obviously, beyond the bell activities and child care services will also be suspended. Considering the level of poverty and despair in our community, we are not only professionally but also morally responsible for providing some degree of sustenance, as we often do. Therefore, we are activating 8 different centers for the distribution of food through a grab-and-go process for students of Los Angeles Unified. That will begin early tomorrow morning. For information about school closures and the location of the grab-and-go locations, please visit www.lusd.org. You will also find resources of support for our workforce and our students. Tomorrow, we will be pivoting 100% of our students to a continuity of learning model with virtual resources available for all of them. Sometime around 4 p.m. tomorrow, we will make a decision after consultation with leaders, as well as a careful examination of the trends as we observe them about what Friday will be like. I want to close by once again thanking our parents for their resilience, our workforce for their courage, and the remarkable men and women of this community who are working as first responders in very, very difficult circumstances. I will add that, unfortunately, the unthinkable has happened. We've lost 2 schools. 2 schools, elementary schools, providing educational services to over 700 students in the Palisades area, have been completely destroyed. We're talking about Marquez Elementary and Palisades Elementary. 30% of Palisades High Charter School was destroyed. We were on site and could not believe what we were witnessing. We are prepared to relocate those students to provide a continuation of their educational services and restore normalcy to those families and those communities. Unas palabras en español. Me siento muy agradecido al liderazgo de nuestra alcaldesa, la señora Bass, y al liderazgo de la ciudad de Los Ángeles en nuestro condado. Hemos observado condiciones muy difíciles en nuestra comunidad y debido a estas condiciones sin precedente en nuestra ciudad, hemos decidido cerrar todos nuestros planteles escolares mañana. Mañana por las 4 de la tarde vamos a decidir lo que vamos a hacer para el día siguiente, viernes. Quiero agradecer a nuestra fuerza laboral, a nuestros maestros, nuestros directores de escuela, nuestro personal de apoyo y también a las personas, los bomberos, los policías y el liderazgo de nuestra comunidad por el nivel de colaboración en apoyo a nuestro sistema escolar.
Okay, so we've just been listening to this live press conference. We have just learned that school is closed tomorrow in L.A. Some good news that we've ascertained. The Woodley fire is now under control. Air operations have resumed. Firefighters are on the scene from across the country and across the state, of course, but they still face some strong winds. One of the quotes tonight, the winds will resume and remain strong, but our resolve remains stronger. We heard earlier from L.A. Mayor Karen Bass, who said tonight more people may get evacuation orders. If you have an evacuation warning, get ready to go. But she did say we are fighting for you, and Los Angeles will rebuild stronger than ever. We do still have much more to get to tonight, including the growing unrest in Venezuela ahead of the presidential inauguration planned for Friday. Stay with us.
More information will.
Whenever, wherever news breaks, it's so important to always remember that lives are changed. Here in London, in Buffalo, Uvalde, Texas, Edinburgh,